Chapter 12:12. While the spectators were still in shock, Xiao Su stepped into the air, and the origin chi in his body surged as he charged into Bai Zun's absolute domain. Bai Zun, show me your true abilities. You can't get past me with that little trick, Xiao Su said. His hands were wrapped in endless lightning, one on the left and one on the right. He stabbed them into the void as if he was grabbing onto some kind of invisible existence. Then he suddenly pulled. With a chi-la sound, a hole was torn in by Zun's absolute domain. Xiao Su took the opportunity to get close to him and lightly struck out with his palm. There was nothing fancy about it, and there was no powerful energy fluctuation. But it was such a light palm that Bai Zun didn't dare to underestimate. He also raised his hand to meet the attack. Under the cover of the endless bloodlight, a huge blood-red palm print was formed and hit Xiao Su's palm. With a hong sound, light burst out and the two of them retreated at the same time. Xiao Su only managed to stop himself after dashing out 1,000 feet. On the opposite side, Bai Zun staggered back. His feet created circles of ripples in the void, as if he was going to shatter the space. The scene was terrifying. When the last step landed, it was like a heavy drum being beaten, creating a loud dong sound. Under this attack, the two of them seemed to have a clear winner. Xiao Su, you really want to stop me? Don't tell me that your Blue Cloud Palace wants to start a war with my Blood Sun sect? Bai Zun shouted. His robes fluttered and his unparalleled energy surged, forming a blood-red waterfall outside his body. This waterfall was hundreds of feet long, twisting and turning in the void. It was like a huge river with raging waves. As soon as Bai Zun's voice fell, the entire blood-red river rushed out. Wherever it passed, spatial ripples would constantly roll up. Xiao Su sneered and mocked. You finally brought out the Blood Sun sect, but I'm afraid that you, Bai Zun, can't be the master of the Blood Sun sect. As he spoke, Elder Xie crossed his arms in front of him. Endless lightning flashed between his arms and quickly formed a huge ball of lightning. The sound of thunder shook the sky. Behind him, boundless wind and lightning roared as they filled the surroundings and swept through the 9 heavens. At this moment, Xiao Wuxi was truly enraged. He wholeheartedly wanted to protect Su Yi, just because of this youth's extraordinariness and the fact that he couldn't accept such a young, outstanding talent under his wing during the Alliance Conference had already made Xiao Wuyu extremely vexed. Now, Bai Zun wanted to take him away. Everyone knew his intentions, but they didn't expose him for the sake of his reputation as a first-rate force. Who would have thought that Bai Zun would bring up the Blood Sun sect now? It was obvious that he was trying to force Xiao Wuxi into a corner. He didn't want to let go of this opportunity. No matter what, he had to protect Su Yi today. Well done, Xiao Wuxi. Since that's the case, don't blame me for falling out with you. Bai Zun's face turned cold. He waved his hands, and the bloodlight in front of him sped up. It turned into a long blood-red dragon, rolling up the wind and clouds as it charged towards Xiao Wuxi. Kill! Elder Xie didn't waste any more words. With a cold glint in his eyes, he raised his hand and shot out a ball of lightning. 2 ferocious attacks streaked across the sky, making rumbling sounds. Even the heavens and earth trembled under their might. In an instant, the two collided fiercely. Boom! With a loud bang that shook the heavens, the blood-red light collapsed inch by inch under the pressure of the ball of lightning, exploding into a rain of blood-red light that filled the sky. The ball of lightning also shattered at this moment, but it turned into numerous lightning dragons and snakes. They charged forward and continued to devour the remaining blood light. At the same time, Xiao Wuxi moved again. His figure flashed as he charged toward Bai Zun, engaging in close combat with him once again. The two's absolute domains collided, constantly changing their shapes. Every time they collided, a loud sound would erupt. This is a true expert. So he looked up from afar, his heart thumping nonstop. It was his first time witnessing a fight between 2 origin ancestors. This was true strength. Previously, when he fought with Luo Cheng and Lu Yingxing in the Li Fire Mystic Sun realm, and later, when he used the soul-controlling talisman, he didn't feel it particularly strong. But now, every attack between Xia Wushu and Bai Zun could be said to be earth-shattering. Ripples appeared in the space, as if huge rocks were thrown into the water. Waves surged and spread to the surroundings. No one dared to stay nearby, especially the numerous Origin Emperors and Origin Void Realm experts. They all retreated extremely far away. This battle was especially intense. Energy whistled in the sky, shaking the 9 heavens and shaking the 9 underworlds. Everyone focused all their attention on this battle. Xia Wushu and Bai Zun's strength was similar. Overall, Xia Wushu had a slight advantage, but it wasn't easy for him to defeat Bai Zun in a short period of time. At this rate, no one knew how long it would take for the victor to be decided. Everyone raised their heads to look, all of their attention focused on the battlefield. No one noticed that while this fierce battle was going on, an old figure quietly took a detour in the distance and went behind Sui. After taking one last look at the battle in the sky, the old figure suddenly flashed, as if he had teleported. In the next moment, he was beside Sui. Swoosh, a withered bark-like palm stretched out, placed directly on Sui's shoulder, and lifted him up. Until then, Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang, who were beside Sui, still hadn't reacted. Sui's heart trembled. He wanted to shout, but in an instant he felt that the space had solidified. He felt that the blood in his body had solidified and no longer flowed. His breathing and heartbeat had also stopped. His body was stiff, and he couldn't move an inch. "Brat, come with this old man for a walk." This voice only reached Sui's ears. It was as if his entire body was tightly sealed in a rock. He couldn't speak, and his body couldn't move. The power of an absolute domain. It's another Origin ancestor expert. At this moment, Sui's heart was shaken. The person who had suddenly appeared was behind him, and even his face couldn't be seen. However, Sui could instantly determine that this was another Origin ancestor expert. The power of the other party's absolute domain tightly restricted everything Sui could do, and it made him feel as if he had lost his life. In an instant, Sui felt his body rise in the air like a goose feather. Who is it? It was only at this moment that Ji Tianfu faintly felt that something was wrong. He couldn't help but roar and turn around to look. Lin Jinyang instantly reacted, and all the hair on his body stood on end. Chapter 12:13. What shocked the two of them the most was that they saw Sui being lifted up and swept away like a gust of wind. They wanted to stop him, but the figure had already carried Sui away. "Tao Yuenda, what are you trying to do?" Fortunately, there was someone who reacted faster than Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang. After hearing these words, another old man's figure appeared in a flash. Like a bolt of lightning, he closely chased after Ji Tianfu. After a few breaths, he blocked the escape route of the previous person. The person who reacted was Elder Tang Wang from the 9 Stars Valley. "What's going on?" The situation quickly attracted everyone's attention. Everyone looked over and saw Sui being carried by the shoulder by an old man. He was about to leave, but Elder Tang stopped him in time. "Tao Yuenda, it's him." Some of the people from the Blue Cloud Hall and the Blood Sun sect recognized the old man. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. This move from the 9 Stars Valley is really unexpected. At this moment, the fight between Xia Wushu and Bai Zun stopped. Looking at the person who appeared, Bai Zun took a few deep breaths and said coldly, "Why? Does the 9 Stars Valley want to interfere in this matter today?" Xia Wushu's face turned ugly. He hadn't dealt with the Blood Sun sect yet, and now someone from the 9 Stars Valley appeared. This made him extremely angry. As he spoke, his figure flashed, and he rushed over. Bai Zun gritted his teeth and followed after him with a fierce look in his eyes. The rest of the people from the Blue Cloud Hall and the Blood Sun sect followed and surrounded Sui and Tao Yuenda. "Tao Yuenda." Elder Tang Wang looked at the old man who was carrying Sui and said, "The 9 Stars Valley stealth technique may be able to fool others, but it can't fool me. I've already discovered your tracks. Dong Chanqing, stop hiding and come out." He naturally knew Tao Yuenda because both of them came from the 9 Stars Valley. Surrounded by many people, Another voice rang out after Tang Wang's voice faded away. Elder Tang, the two of us have been ordered by the Valley Master to bring this young man back. With a swoosh, another figure flashed over from afar and quickly arrived at the scene. This was another old man who looked to be in his 70s. His hair and beard were completely white, and he was the one who had spoken just now. Dong Changqing. As soon as the old man appeared, many people instantly recognized him. He was Dong Changqing, whom Tang Wang had mentioned. Oomph. The Nine Stars Valley is really good at scheming. It turns out that they have been hiding in the dark all this time, wanted to take him away without anyone knowing. Baizun said coldly again. His old eyes were filled with coldness. He had been waiting here for a long time in order to bring Su Yi back to the Blood Sun sect. Who would have thought that Xiao Wushu would actually obstruct him? Not only that, but he didn't expect the Nine Stars Valley's people to be hiding in the dark. He couldn't help but feel ruthless. Baizun would never allow Su Yi to fall into the hands of others. It turns out that you're also from the Nine Stars Valley. After being surrounded, the pressure on Su Yi's body gradually dissipated. He gasped for air with difficulty. At the same time, his heart was clear. It wasn't difficult to determine that the old man and Elder Tang had different objectives. Elder Tang was here to help him, but this person called Tao Yuanda and Dong Changqing were here on the orders of the Nine Stars Valley's Valley Master to take him away. Su Yi could see that Elder Tang was unaware of all this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stopped Tao Yuanda. So it's the Nine Stars Valley's Valley Master's idea. After hearing their words, Xiao Wushu instantly understood that the Nine Stars Valley was also planning to interfere. However, he didn't continue speaking. He only looked at Elder Tang, wanting to see what he would say. Tao Yuanda, let this young man go. Tang Wang didn't waste any time and only spoke softly. At the same time, a bright light flashed in his eyes as he stared straight at Tao Yuanda and Dong Changqing. Elder Tang, this is the Valley Master's order. The two of us can't disobey. At this moment, Dong Changqing spoke again. Elder Tang, please don't worry. The Valley Master has said that he won't hurt this young man. The Valley Master only wants to talk to this young man face to face and see if he's willing to serve the Nine Stars Valley. Even if he's unwilling, we won't do anything to harm him for his wealth. When these words were spoken, the corners of everyone's lips twitched at the same time. Only a fool would believe such an excuse. What a high-sounding reason. The Nine Stars Valley's way of doing things is still as shameless as ever. Baizun laughed coldly. Since he had already torn off his hypocritical face, he no longer had any scruples and spoke sarcastically. Su Yi only felt that the truly shameless one was this old fox. Tao Yuanda, let him go. Tang Wang frowned and spoke again. However, when they heard this, Tao Yuanda and Dong Changqing's expressions turned slightly awkward. They were here on the Valley Master's orders. Although they didn't want to hurt Su Yi, they couldn't let him go so easily either. However, Elder Tang's position in the valley was higher than theirs. Hence, they were in a difficult position. The Valley Master probably didn't expect this to happen either. Let this young man go. When we return, I'll give the Valley Master a satisfactory explanation. I won't make things difficult for you. Tang Wang spoke again when he saw that the two of them had loosened up. Su Yi, who was in the middle of the crowd, had a strange feeling in his heart. He didn't know how to express it. As a member of the Nine Stars Valley, Elder Tang actually wanted to disobey the Valley Master's orders and asked Tao Yuanda to let him go. This, Tao Yuanda felt awkward and exchanged glances with Dong Changqing. Both of you, there are so many of us here. You can't escape. Xiao Wushu spoke. He glanced indifferently at Baizun, who was in the Blood Sun Sect's formation, and said coldly, it's not just the Blue Cloud Hall. The people of the Blood Sun Sect won't let you take this young man away, so just give up. Tao Yuanda and Dong Changqing both frowned deeply. They were in a dilemma. They came stealthily and thought that no one would know when they came. Who would have thought that Elder Tang would discover them and stop them at the first moment? Now that the Blue Cloud Hall and the Blood Sun Sect were eyeing them covetously and Elder Tang wouldn't relent, they didn't know what to do. However, there was a fact in front of them. Just as Xiao Wushu had said, they probably wouldn't be able to take this young man away today. Once the battle started, even if the two of them could successfully escape, Su Yi's life couldn't be guaranteed. All right, we'll let him go. Chapter 12:14. Don't worry. If the Valley Master wants to blame us, I will bear all responsibility. Tang Wang took over Su Yi and immediately placed his palm on his back, sending a warm current into his body. In an instant, Su Yi felt much more relaxed. Kid, take this. Xia Wushu took out a small porcelain bottle and poured out a pill from it before placing it in front of Su Yi's mouth. After hesitating for a moment, Su Yi opened his mouth and swallowed it. Instantly, a gentle and pure energy melted in his mouth and flowed down his throat into his internal organs. It flowed into his limbs and bones, nourishing every damaged meridian. Even his great void spirit sea, which had long dried up, began to ripple. In less than a breath's time, Su Yi felt as if a shackle had been lifted from his body. He felt comfortable, and his physical strength recovered slightly. What a powerful pill! Su Yi was shocked. The pill's effect was very strong. It could allow someone to recover slightly in such a short time. It was clear that the pill that Elder Xie took out was no ordinary item. With Su Yi's experience, it must have reached the yellow grade. Thank you, elders. Su Yi immediately cupped his fists and bowed deeply towards Xia Wushu and Tang Wang. He was extremely sincere, and his heart was filled with gratitude towards the two of them. Take care of your breathing. Leave the rest to me. Elder Xie didn't say much and said with a slight smile. In response to Su Yi's gratitude, Elder Tang only nodded lightly and didn't say anything else. Su Yi nodded. This time, he didn't reject Elder Xie's good intentions. The other party had sincerely come to help him. Although Su Yi wasn't afraid of trouble, he couldn't fight to the death with the people of the Blood Sun sect at this juncture. It wouldn't do him any good. However, he still took a deep look at Tao Yuan and Dong Chongqing and secretly remembered the 3 words 9 Stars Valley in his heart. He was extremely unhappy that he was being carried around by Tao Yuan like a little chick. However, now wasn't the time to act out. In addition, if he wanted to settle accounts in the future, the first person he would look for would definitely be the Blood Sun sect. Baizun, this young man is by my side now. If you still want to take him away, then let's fight again. This old man wants to see if you have that ability to snatch people from my Blue Cloud Hall's hands. Xia Wushu's eyes suddenly narrowed as he swept his gaze across the scene. In the end, his gaze landed on Baizun and the people from the Blood Sun sect. His gaze seemed to contain lightning and was extremely sharp. Baizun pulled a long face when he heard this. He looked around and felt that he wouldn't be able to snatch anyone away this time. Xia Wushu, this old man will remember today's matter. There will be a day when I will get my revenge on your Blue Cloud Hall. Baizun's voice sounded like it was squeezed out of his mouth. It was terrifying for no reason, and it was filled with deep resentment and resentment. At present, the situation was no longer on his side. Su Yi stood beside the people of Ash Cloud Hall, with Tang Wang protecting him. In this way, it would be extremely difficult for the Blood Sun sect to take down the young man. Moreover, Tao Yuan and Dong Chongqing were also from the 9 Stars Valley. If Tang Wang asked them to take action, it would definitely be disadvantageous for the Blood Sun sect. My Blue Cloud Hall will teach you when the time comes. Xia Wushu slowly put his arms behind his back as he looked straight at Baizun. Let's go. After taking one last look at Xia Wushu and Tang Wang and throwing a few harsh words, Baizun snorted coldly. With a flick of his sleeve, he flew away with the people of the Blood Sun sect and instantly swept into the distance. The people of the Blood Sun sect have left. They left just like that. In the distance, there were many people from other forces and rogue cultivators who saw this scene. They couldn't help but feel shocked. The people of the Blood Sun sect had retreated just like that. Phew! Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang also let out a long sigh of relief. They felt extremely pressured and could finally relax a little at this time. I thank the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang for your help. Seeing that the people of the Blood Sun sect had disappeared, Su Yi once again bowed to Xia Wushu and Tang Wang. It doesn't matter if you thank us or not. Just remember it in your heart and repay us in the future. Xiao Wushu said with a smile. Su Yi was stunned when he heard this. He couldn't help but rub his nose. He only felt that this Elder Xie was really different. His words were a little too obvious. Elder Tang, this matter is over. The two of us have to return to the Nine Stars Valley and report to the Valley Master. I wonder if Elder Tang will return with us? Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing cupped their hands and asked Tang Wang, "You two go ahead first. This old man will rush back to the Nine Stars Valley later. If the Valley Master really wants to blame us, just say that it's my idea. I will explain it to him at that time." Tang Wang nodded and said, Sect Master. Sect Master. At this time, over 10 figures flew over from afar. Each of them was holding a figure in their hands. They quickly landed in front of Su Yi and the others. Green Emperor, Sister Fairy, Su Yi quickly went up to them. These people were from the Xinjian sect and Liuhe sect. They had brought back the injured Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, Devouring Spirit Emperor, and the other Beast Emperors. There was also Impermanence Fairy, Yu Qiuhan. Master, Kid, the group of Beast Emperors and Yu Qiuhan were all seriously injured. It was difficult for them to even stand up. They had to be supported by Feng Qizong, Guming, and the others. Fortunately, none of them were in life-threatening danger. The Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, who had the weakest cultivation, were still breathing. Let's return to the Bawang sect immediately to heal our injuries. Su Yi took out many elixirs from his space bag and fed them to everyone. It's okay. We won't die yet. Impermanence Fairy said as she waved her hand weakly. Su Yi's heart felt heavy. After such a tough battle, he was most worried that the group's cultivation foundation would be damaged. The best thing to do now was to bring them into the mysterious space and make use of the special place there to recover as soon as possible. Elder Xie, Elder Tang, if the two of you don't mind, why don't you come to the Bawang sect for a few days and let me play the role of a host? Su Yi turned to Xiao Wushu and Tang Wang again and said, You kid. Xiao Wushu rolled his eyes and said, That's fine too. I also want to see what your Bawang sect is like. Elder Tang nodded, indicating that he was willing to go. However, the two of them were old and experienced. They could tell what Su Yi was planning. This kid was probably afraid that the people from the Blood Sun sect would return. That was why he wanted them to go to the Bawang sect. It would be a good protection. There's no time to lose. Let's go. Su Yi was the first to move. With Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang's support, he flew in the direction of the Bawang sect. The Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, Impermanence Fairy, and the others followed closely behind, supported by the experts from the two sections. What a vengeful kid. Chapter 12:15. Old man, your Nine Stars Valley might have really made the wrong move this time. Xiao Wushu smacked his lips and said to Tang Wang with a smile. As experts of the older generation who had lived for many years, they could naturally see through Su Yi's thoughts. When a youth thanked them earlier, he had mentioned the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang. It could be seen that in his heart, he had already developed a grudge against the Nine Stars Valley and would not have a good impression of them. I hope we didn't misjudge him. Elder Tang said softly. Then, he did not delay any longer and chased after Su Yi and the others. Merciless West, Yama, and that woman just now should be Impermanence Fairy Yu Qiuhan, right? These two people can be considered quite famous in the Tian barbarian continent. A young man who can make them willingly assist him definitely can't be wrong. Xiao Wushu mumbled and followed after him. Soon, the Bawang sect, Blue Cloud Hall, Xinjian sect, Liuhe sect, Elder Tang, and the others all disappeared from this mountain range. However, there was still a large number of itinerant cultivators and people from the Xianin sect in the surroundings. They stood still for a long time. The Bawang sect is safe. They defeated the attack of the Jade Tripod sect. 2 Origin Ancestor Realm experts were killed. This Bawang sect is too terrifying. That youth Su Yi is even more terrifying. He actually killed a Origin Ancestor Realm expert. The crowd began to palpitate. Words that carried boundless shock were spoken one after another. Everyone was extremely shocked. The only two Origin Ancestor Realm experts of the Jade Tripod sect had come with the intention of revenge, but they had left their lives here. On this day, everyone finally realized the true strength of the Bawang sect. Although it could be seen that this battle was very difficult for them, it was undeniable that they had done it. That youth Su Yi had killed Luo Cheng. This was something that everyone had witnessed with their own eyes. Even if he was a heavily injured Origin Ancestor Realm expert, he was still an Origin Ancestor Realm expert. The might of the Golden Dragon had yet to dissipate. Just thinking about it made people feel shocked. Bawang sect. In the Big Dipper sect's formation, Hong Qianlung's face was extremely gloomy. He was gritting his teeth so hard that they almost broke. With Ash Cloud Hall and Tang Wan's protection, he was unable to kill Su Yi. This was something that even the people of the Blood Sun sect could not do. On the contrary, their Big Dipper sect had lost a 9th-level Origin Emperor. This was a loss that couldn't be ignored. At the same time, Hong Qianlung was heavily injured, and no one knew how long it would take for him to recover. Let's go. After a long while, Hong Qianlung waved his arm and led the members of the Big Dipper sect away from the mine. It's getting harder and harder for the Tiangang sect to deal with the Bawang sect. Perhaps it won't be long before the Bawang sect takes the initiative to look for the Heavenly Dipper sect. After all, they are already sworn enemies. It's hard to imagine that such a young boy could grow up so quickly. The Overlord sect, whose name is unknown, has risen to such a level so quickly. The onlookers were all shocked for a long time. Their gazes swept across the original mine. The mountain rocks there had been flattened and turned into dust. Some people went down to investigate curiously and found that the origin stones in the mine had lost all their energy. They had become extremely soft and worthless. This confirmed the previous rumors that the young man had the ability to devour the energy of the mine on a large scale. No one knew what kind of method it was, but it was shocking enough. This is a big deal. The situation in the Chaos region is going to change again. Some sharp people felt that things were not simple. With the speed of development of the Bawang sect, this was definitely going to turn the world upside down. After the Alliance Conference, starting with a few third-rate forces, the 7-Star Sword School, the Gimdeo sect, and then the Heavenly Spider sect were all destroyed one after another. This time, starting from the Green Sanctuary sect, along with a second-rate force, the Jade Tripod sect, were all overturned by the Bawang sect. The Bawang sect, from today onwards, all forces have to treat it seriously. Someone muttered. Then, all the onlookers and itinerant cultivators dispersed with heavy hearts. The Bawang sect's matter attracted too much attention. There were countless people outside who were blocked by many barbaric beasts and could not enter to take a look. However, when all of this was over, the crowd became more and more magnificent. It was unknown how many warriors had gathered around. As the people who had witnessed the battle with their own eyes walked out, the news of what had happened earlier quickly spread like a storm. The Chaos region was shaken. Everyone who received the news had looks of disbelief on their faces. However, as the news spread more and more fiercely, it was impossible for people not to believe that everything had really happened. The death of 2 Origin Ancestor Realm experts announced the collapse of the Jade Tripod sect. There were really people who made a special trip to the Jade Tripod sect to investigate. They found that all the disciples had fled in panic and scattered like birds and beasts. No one dared to stay in the Jade Tripod sect. All the treasures in the sect were also swept away by some elders. Perhaps all of this is not the end. When someone heard this, they could not help but sigh, causing many people to fall into silence. From now on, the Bawang sect was no longer a nameless force. No one in the entire Chaos region would underestimate them. On one hand, this came from their own strength. On the other hand, it was also because of the attitude of the 3 first-rate forces. The Blue Cloud Hall clearly wanted to recruit that youth, and the 9 Stars Valley seemed to want to make a move as well. However, there were different opinions internally. As for the Blood Sun sect, they wanted to take the opportunity to seize some benefits. After this, they would definitely stand on the opposite side of the Bawang sect. Both sides had already shed all pretenses of cordiality, and they were only short of meeting each other with weapons. Most people felt that the youth would definitely not fight head-on with the Blood Sun sect. After all, that was a first-rate force, and it was much stronger than the Jade Tripod sect. Therefore, the rise of the Bawang sect and the storm in the Chaos region might just be the beginning. The real show was still to come. I think that Su Yi won't hold back for long. One has to know that before this, the Jade Tripod sect was countless times stronger than them, but it was still destroyed. Moreover, it was destroyed in such an unimaginable way. According to Su Yi's usual style, he probably wouldn't hold back too much. The Blood Sun sect was very strong, but behind that youth stood the Blue Cloud Hall and perhaps Elder Tang of the Nine Stars Valley. If that was the case, it wasn't that there wasn't a chance for him to clash with the Blood Sun sect. However, these things were just the guesses of countless people in the Chaos region. Everyone was filled with anticipation. They wanted to see how far that youth and his sect would go in the end. And because of his appearance, the Chaos region would stir up a magnificent and boundless storm. Chapter 12:16. Su Yi and the others returned to the Bawang sect, which was the original location of the Feng family village. "Sectmaster, how are you?" When they returned, Feng Qi'er, Wang Zhengquan, Huang Jian, Nangong Ningyue, and the others were all waiting anxiously. Seeing Su Yi and the Beast Emperors returning with injuries, everyone rushed to the front, extremely worried. "Don't worry, we're all fine." Su Yi revealed a smile and said to the crowd, "Su Yi, sir." Feng Qi'er looked around and didn't see Merciless West's figure. Her pretty face couldn't help but become anxious. "Big brother is also fine. Don't worry," Su Yi said again with a smile. Hearing his words, Feng Qi'er heaved a sigh of relief, knowing that Merciless West should have entered the mysterious space. Behind him, Xia Wushu and Tang Wang looked at each other. Only now did they realize that they didn't seem to see Merciless West and the little bird that transformed into the ancient divine phoenix. The two old men only felt that something was wrong, but they couldn't figure out the crux of the matter. It seemed that this young man still had many secrets that they didn't notice at all. "Elder Tang, Elder Xia, and all the other seniors, I'll go treat my injuries first. I'll come back later to greet you all." Su Yi turned to look at Xia Wushu and the rest as he said. He was seriously injured, and so were the Green Emperor, Impermanence Fairy, and the others. Everyone must enter the mysterious space as soon as possible to treat their injuries. "Okay, you all go treat your injuries. We'll stay here for a few days and take a good look at the Bawang sect scenery." Elder Tang nodded and straightforwardly agreed. Xia Wushu, who was at the side, also nodded. "I'm sorry, everyone." Su Yi apologized and then sternly instructed everyone in the Bawang sect, Huang Jian, Nangong Ningyue, "You all must properly entertain the distinguished guests of the Ash Cloud Hall, Elder Tang, and the others. Don't neglect them." "Understood." Everyone from the Bawang sect accepted the order. Then they watched as Su Yi led everyone to the back of the mountain. Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and the others also left with the help of the people from the Xinjian sect and the Liu'e sect. Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang also went to the back of the mountain. Not long after, everyone entered a cave. Other than the people from the Bawang sect, everyone else was arranged to wait outside the cave. Only Ji Tianfu was left behind by Su Yi. In fact, Huang Jian and Wang Zhengquan had also rushed over and stood guard at the cave entrance. What Su Yi truly trusted was his own people. When he was in seclusion, he absolutely could not allow outsiders to intrude. Although Huang Jian and Wang Zhengquan were not very strong, they could not care less at this time. Faction Leader Ji, I think the people from Xinjian faction are trustworthy, right? Inside the cave, Su Yi looked deeply at Ji Tianfu and asked seriously. Ji Tianfu frowned when he heard Su Yi's question. He did not know what Su Yi meant. "I trust faction leader Ji very much. I treat you as one of my own. That is why I have a secret place that I am not afraid of letting you know. Miss Hanaw is also there. I will bring you in later." Su Yi said, "However, I am worried about the people outside. If someone were to barge in recklessly, it could be a matter of life and death. That is why I will not allow this to happen." Seeing how serious Su-yi was, Ji Tianfu's expression became extremely serious. He realized that this matter was much more important than he had imagined. What made him most excited was that his daughter, Ji Hanua, was actually in a secret place in the Bawang sect. Don't worry. Xinjian faction is very strict when it comes to choosing people. Those who are not trustworthy will not be accepted. I have already instructed them not to barge in. Ji Tianfu nodded and said. Su-yi did not waste any more time. He summoned the mysterious space and brought the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, Devouring Spirit King, Purple Elephant Emperor, Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, Black Tortoise Emperor, Impermanence Fairy, and Ji Tianfu into it. Swoosh, when a completely different space appeared in front of him, Ji Tianfu was a little stunned. This place was like an independent heaven and earth. It presented a unique scene. The sky hung high and released an invisible pressure that made people feel reverent. The entire space was boundless, and no one knew how big it was. The rich spiritual energy seemed to have materialized and entered through the pores of his body, making him feel extremely comfortable. Ji Tianfu was shocked. He did not expect such a place to exist. Looking around, he saw a medicinal field. The spiritual herbs were thriving, and the spiritual energy was extremely rich. They were growing much better than the outside world. Kid, is this your secret? Impermanence Fairy was also shocked. She looked at Su-yi and asked. She knew that Su-yi had a huge secret, but she did not expect it to be in such a place. Even though she was mentally prepared, Impermanence Fairy and Yuchiohan were still shocked to the extreme. Kid, you are here. A huge ginseng came out of the medicinal field and said, Blood Jasper Ginseng. Ji Tianfu and Impermanence Fairy opened their eyes wide. They were shocked to the extreme. A blood jasper ginseng that could speak, needless to say, was definitely in existence in the demon void realm. Its value was immeasurable. Sect leader Ji Hanua is over there. Go and see her. Su-yi pointed in the direction where Ji Hanua was. When he looked over, he was also surprised. The girl was sitting cross-legged on the ground and seemed to be adjusting her breathing. This surprised Su-yi. This little girl is not simple. There's a mysterious force circulating in her body. I originally thought that she wouldn't be able to hold on, but I didn't expect a miracle to happen. The blood jasper ginseng, Su-yi, and Ji Tianfu walked to Ji Hanua's side and clicked their tongues in admiration. A mysterious force? Ji Tianfu and Su did not know what kind of mysterious force Ji Hanua had in her body. However, this was not important. As long as she could hold on, Su-yi could finally rest assured. Daughter, however, when he saw Ji Hanua's appearance, Ji Tianfu still revealed an extremely pained expression. Grandpa Ginseng, thank you so much this time. Su-yi cupped his fists at the blood jasper ginseng and bowed. If it were not for the blood jasper ginseng's life essence saving her, Ji Hanua would have died. In addition, when dealing with the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, Grandpa Ginseng had also put in a lot of effort and was heavily injured. This made Su-yi extremely grateful to him. Kid, you don't have to thank me. The blood jasper ginseng shook its head. It actually bared its teeth and said with a smile, Recently, a huge change has occurred in this space. I have obtained great benefits from it. Now, my cultivation has broken through 2 levels. Let's treat what I did previously as an exchange. The spiritual liquid that you promised doesn't matter anymore. You broke through again? Su-yi was extremely surprised. He did not expect Grandpa Ginseng to break through again. It seemed that devouring the energy of the essence stones in the mind brought great benefits. Chapter 12:17. I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm rich. Su-yi was overjoyed, and he became excited all of a sudden. He saw that the small pool of spiritual liquid was full. It was filled with spiritual liquid, and it overflowed from the mouth of the pool, soaking a large area around it. With so much spiritual liquid, it would be able to support the consumption for a long time. Without thinking, He took out a small bottle and began to fill it. When all the spiritual liquid was filled, he gave the Green Emperor, Yin Ming, Yang Ming, Devouring Spirit Emperor, and the others some spiritual liquid, and asked them to find a place to heal their wounds. The rich He gave each of them 2 bottles in one go. I didn't know you had so much of this. Wu Chang Fairy was shocked. She held the spiritual liquid in her hand and looked at Yi, not knowing what to say. Yi gave her the spiritual liquid, and she thought that it was extremely rare. She did not expect to see a pool of it just now. Sister Wu Chang, no matter how much of this there is, it can't support the consumption of so many people. He spread his hands and said with a wry smile. In fact, the consumption of the spiritual liquid was very fast. As everyone's strength increased and the Boang sect continued to expand, they had more and more people, and the spiritual liquid was a little stretched. If it was really inexhaustible, then it would be true generosity. That's true. Wu Chang Fairy nodded and then walked away, looking for a place to heal her wounds in the huge, mysterious space. Before that, she caught a glimpse of a figure in the distance. It was Merciless West, Big Brother, and Old Lei. He also saw the situation in the distance. Merciless West and Lei Yunhe were not too far away, and they were wholeheartedly healing their wounds and cultivating. Their bodies were fluctuating with extremely powerful power, and a misty light enveloped the 2 of them, making them look like gods. For no reason, there seemed to be an indescribable, mysterious charm circling around their bodies. They can't be about to break through, right? Yi's eyes widened. He felt that this situation wasn't as simple as it seemed. When they were devouring the energy of the mind, Big Brother and Lei Yunhe were both in the mysterious space. Perhaps they had also obtained great benefits like the blood jasper ginseng. However, this was a good thing. He was naturally happy to see this happen. Where's little Handsome? After searching for a while, He finally saw Handsome Su after flying for a long time. Contrary to what she had imagined, Handsome Su's condition was not particularly good. His feathers still did not have much luster, and his spiritual power was not strong either. This made Yi worried. He didn't know what kind of price Handsome Su had to pay for his last attack. However, it was conceivable that he must have been severely injured. Fortunately, Yi knew that the mysterious space was extremely beneficial to the Yao race. He should be able to make a full recovery here. Sect Master Ji, just let Han Nuo recuperate here in peace. I also need time to recover. I'll have to trouble you to take care of the matters outside. Yi saw that the Green Emperor and the others had all gone to recuperate, so he walked in front of Ji Tianfu and said, "Okay." Ji Tianfu looked at his daughter with heartache. Then he suddenly bowed to Yi with his hands clasped in front of him. "Sect Master Ji, what are you doing?" Yi hurriedly supported him, and at the same time, dodged the bow. "If it weren't for you, my daughter would have been in trouble. Ji Tianfu, will always remember this kindness. If you and the Bawang sect have any orders, the Xinjian sect will not refuse." Looking at Yi, Ji Tianfu's every word was sonorous and powerful. "Sect Master Ji, you're too serious. Not to mention, the Xinjian sect has helped me a lot. Just based on the friendship between Miss Han Nuo and me, even if we aren't allies, I won't sit back and watch her be harmed." Yi said. Ji Tianfu nodded heavily when he heard this. He looked at Ji Han Nuo meaningfully again. He only felt that the feelings in his daughter's heart were fortunately backed by someone. In fact, Yi himself could not explain why he was so angry after hearing that Ji Han Nuo had been captured. At that time, he only wanted to lead many beast emperors and directly flatten the Green Sanctuary sect. He wanted to kill all the Jade, Tripod, Alchemy sects, Origin Emperor Realm experts, and make them pay the price for their actions. Perhaps all of this was just to vent his anger for what Ji Han Nuo had suffered, or perhaps it had unknowingly touched Yi's heartstrings, causing him to instantly go berserk. "You should recuperate well. Leave the matters outside to me. If there are any changes, I will come here to inform you immediately." Ji Tianfu said one last time and walked out of the mysterious space under Su Yi's lead. Before leaving, Su Yi handed him 2 bottles of spirit liquid, one of which was requested to be handed over to Lin Jinyang. This time, although the Xinjian sect and the Liuhe sect did not contribute much, the 2 sects were not afraid of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. The alliance that they swore to help made Su Yi very touched. It was true that he was usually meticulous, but at the critical moment, Su Yi also knew that he could not be too stingy when it was time to make a move. Start healing. After re-entering the mysterious space, Su Yi found a place to sit cross-legged and began to heal his injuries. Nangong Ningyue was in charge of the matters in the sect, so there would not be any major problems. In addition, several people from the Blue Cloud Hall were temporarily staying in the Bawang sect. Elder Tang Wang was also there. With several Origin Ancestor Realm experts overseeing the sect, there were definitely not many people in the entire Chaos region who dared to cause trouble here. Even if the Blood Sun sect wanted to make a move, they had to consider the consequences. Su Yi had asked Elder Xie and the others to come to the Bawang sect for this purpose. He wanted to prevent any accidents from happening when all the high-end experts of the Bawang sect were in seclusion. Now, he was much more relieved. However, at the same time, Su Yi was also a little worried. He was afraid that Elder Xie and the others would inadvertently barge into the cave. The secret of the mysterious space must not be known by outsiders. Otherwise, once it was spread, Su Yi would never have a day of peace. Fortunately, Elder Xie and Elder Tang both had the intention to rope him in. Under such circumstances, the other party should not do anything excessive. In addition, Ji Tianfu was waiting outside, so he was even more confident. Walala! Su Yi drank a bottle of spirit liquid. Then, the primordial chaos supreme technique and the heavenly demon ancient scripture in his body circulated at the same time. The light of the 4 attributes of earth, fire, water, and wind spread out around his body and wrapped around his body. However, these 4 elemental powers were not strong because Su Yi was severely injured. From the beginning, he had used the soul manipulation killing talisman to fight the 2 origin ancestor realms. Then, he had devoured the energy of the mind and forced Hong Qianlong to retreat. Then, he had used the world-suppressing Dragon Soul Roar to kill Luo Cheng and a 9th level Origin Emperor. Su Yi's meridians had suffered unimaginable damage. If not for the diamond body that had been baptized by the Golden Dragon Blood Essence, and the heavenly Origin Demon Soul that had been tempered by the Golden Dragon Soul, an ordinary person would have died on the spot. Chapter 12:18. Su Yi's heart was clear, and the world seemed to have calmed down. All that was left in his mind was cultivation. As time passed, the primordial qi on his body became more and more resplendent. The power of the 4 attributes began to surge, forming a cocoon of light that completely enveloped him. Within the mysterious space, there were numerous figures scattered about in various other places. All of them were in a state of cultivation. Outside the mysterious space, Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang led the Xinjian sect and Liuhe sect's Origin Emperor Realm experts to wait silently. In addition, Huang Jian and Wang Zhengquan were also there. Xia Wuxiu, Tang Wang, and the others temporarily stayed in the Bawang sect. However, not long after, their hearts palpitated again because the 2 of them saw several Origin Emperor Realm experts in the Bawang sect. It's the people from the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect and the Heavenly Spider sect. I didn't expect them to follow that brat, Su Yi. After receiving confirmation, Tang Wang shook his head and smiled bitterly. If it weren't for the fact that most of these people came from the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, they would have attacked Luo Cheng and Lu Yinghong together earlier. The Jade Tripod Alchemy sect is gone just like that. At the same time, these Origin Emperor Realm experts who had submitted to the Bawang sect were all shocked when they found out that the 2 ancestors of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect had died, and that the entire Jade Tripod Alchemy sect had scattered like birds and beasts. Such an outcome was hard to imagine, but they had no choice but to accept it. Fortunately, they were now members of the Bawang sect. Although they could not obtain the greatest trust, their lives were saved. Old man, do the math. The number of Emperor Realm experts in the Bawang sect shouldn't be less than that of ordinary second-rate forces, right? Xia Wushu and Tang Wang both raised their fingers and started counting according to the situation they had seen. They were surprised to find that the Bawang sect now had about 17 or 18 Emperor Realm experts. This number was growing too quickly. One had to know that a few months ago, when they faced the 7-star sword school, they could only run for their lives. I wonder what kind of means that kid has to be able to subdue so many beast emperors. Tang Wang fell into deep thought. They had long discovered that Su Yi had such an ability, but they never thought that the youth would be able to subdue so many beast emperors. They had no idea how he did it. With such means, it would be strange if the Bawang sect didn't develop quickly. Xia Wushu shrugged his shoulders and said, "In fact, many people in the Chaos region knew that the Bawang sect's strongest force wasn't the few thousand disciples under the sect, but the endless army of savage beasts. Once a massive beast tide was set off, apart from the first-rate and second-rate forces, no other sect in the Chaos realm would be able to stop it. It was no wonder that the Bawang sect was located in the territory of the brute demon beasts. This had saved them a lot of trouble. That brat, I wonder how long it will take for him to recover." A few days later, Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others felt a little helpless. After Su Yi and the others went into seclusion, not a single one of them showed up. Fortunately, Nangong Ningyue had arranged for people to give them the best treatment, so these experts didn't have too many complaints. The days passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, nearly half a month had passed. That brat still hasn't come out of seclusion. Elder Xie and the others were impatient. Su Yi hadn't appeared for half a month. One had to know that they were all well-known figures in the Chaos region. The youth didn't even come out to greet them while he was recuperating. This made them feel very helpless. They felt that they couldn't wait any longer. If it weren't for the fact that they wanted to ask Su Yi some questions, Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others would probably flick their sleeves and return to the sect. Let's wait a little longer. In the end, they could only shake their heads and smile bitterly. They had long seen through Su Yi's thoughts. He wanted to borrow their strength so that the people of the Blood Sun sect wouldn't dare to invade them while they were recuperating. However, whether it was Elder Xie or Elder Tang, they all had different thoughts. Otherwise, why would they be willing to stay here? Some things were wrong in the past, but they hoped that they could make up for it now. Shunjian Gate. The news of the Chaos region had finally reached here. Ha ha! What a good Su Yi! That brat actually caused such a big commotion in the Chaos region. In the main hall, Sidu Luyun sat on the seat of honor. He raised his head and laughed with incomparable carefreeness. Below him, the elders of the various peaks were also seated. Most of them had gratified smiles on their faces. "That's really good." He gave face to our Shunjian Gate. Elder Ing Dang of the 35th Sword Peak stroked his beard with a happy face. With that brat's personality, he's like a fish in water in the Chaos region. If he were still in our Shunjian Gate, he would definitely be restrained. The Chaos region is a place where people like Su Yi can live. Over there, he can use his fists and kicks to his heart's content without any worries. The wide sea allows the fish to leap, and the high sky allows the birds to fly. Su Yi is indeed suitable to grow in the Chaos region. Mei Huiye, Yu Changqing, Lu Bai Mei, Duan Yuerong, and the other elders of the Sword Peak all spoke with gratification. They all knew Su Yi's personality. That young man was not only shrewd, but also extraordinary. He was completely unlike a normal teenager. In the past, Su Yi was sometimes overbearing, sometimes arrogant, sometimes cold, sometimes sincere, and sometimes calculating. Fortunately, he still had a lot of affection for the Shunjian Gate. After all, there were many of his friends here. In the main hall, the Suruga elders sat quietly and did not speak. However, everyone could see that the corners of his mouth, which was always serious, were hooked into a smile that was difficult to melt. His eyes were shining brightly. Su Yi was a member of the 36th Sword Peak. Even if he and Elder Su were not master and disciple in name, there was still a master-disciple relationship, and even a familial relationship. That young man had left the central province for less than a year, but he had already grown to such a level. The Bawang sect, which was fabricated in the sacred martial arts assembly, had also risen rapidly. All of this made the Suruga elder feel pleasantly surprised and proud at the same time. "Father!" Just as everyone in the main hall was sighing, a tender voice was heard, and then a young man broke into the main hall. "Muyang, you've come out of seclusion?" Seeing the young man, Situ Luyun immediately asked. The rest of the people also cast their eyes on him. "Greetings, father." "Greetings, elders." After a slight salute to the elders in the main hall, Situ Muyang could not help but say, "Yes, father." You've broken through to the origin void stage?" As Situ Muyang's voice fell, Elder Liu Baimei suddenly exclaimed. Chapter 1219. The Origin Void Realm. It's really the Origin Void Realm. A 16-year-old in the Origin Void Realm. That's too scary. What a terrifying talent. Is our Shunjian gate going to defy the heavens? When they saw Situ Muyang's true cultivation, everyone was shocked. In the main hall, the elders widened their eyes in disbelief. Situ Muyang was the son of the gate master, Situ Luyun. His talent was already extraordinary, but no one expected it to be so extraordinary. A 16-year-old in the Origin Void Realm. What kind of concept was that? If word got out, it could scare people to death. Normally, the son of Lianxing Mountain had just stepped into the Origin Void Realm at this age. "Good. Very good." Situ Luyun stood up from his seat and walked towards Situ Muyang step by step. His face was full of joy. "Muyang, you really surprised me." Situ Luyun couldn't suppress the smile on his face. He looked at his son with joy in his eyes. Such talent is even more powerful than Yun Lingfeng. With such an outstanding junior, Situ Muyang will revitalize our Shunjian Gate. Good boy. Shunjian Gate will definitely improve 100 years later. All the elders were extremely excited and said aloud one after another. A boy who was less than 17 years old had broken through to the Origin Void Realm. From a certain point of view, this was enough to show Situ Muyang's talent. As long as he was carefully cultivated and no mistakes were made, Shunjian Gate would definitely have another terrifying powerhouse within 100 years. He could even lead the entire gate to glory. Therefore, at this moment, everyone was pleasantly surprised and excited, including the Suruga elder who was sitting in front of the crowd. He couldn't help nodding, and his eyes became brighter. Only one person in the hall looked a little gloomy. This person was Elder by Mingshan of the 15th Sword Peak, Yun Lingfeng's master. But at this moment, no one noticed his expression. "Father, elders, my talent is nothing compared to junior martial granduncles. I've heard about what happened in the Chaos region after I came out of seclusion." Situ Muyang wasn't as arrogant as before. Instead, he said with an extremely serious expression. As soon as he said this, the main hall instantly fell silent. No one refuted him. Suyi's current achievements were obvious to all. Relatively speaking, he was indeed far ahead of Situ Muyang. Rumor had it that he was already at the 6th level of the Origin Void Realm. Looking at it this way, Situ Muyang's talent seemed to be somewhat ordinary. Su is a freak. If we were to compare ourselves to him, we wouldn't be able to live. Eldering Dang said with a bitter smile. Everyone in the hall nodded in agreement. Su, he was too extraordinary. It was almost impossible to find a youth like him in this world. He was definitely a rare talent that only appeared once in 1,000 years. If he was taken as the benchmark, then all the martial artists in the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean would feel ashamed of their inferiority. Situ Muyang didn't say anything when he heard the words of everyone, and he only raised his head to look at his father and said in a low voice, "Father, I want to go to the Chaos region." "What?" Situ Luyun was shocked and hurriedly asked, "Why do you want to go to the Chaos region?" The other elders looked at the young man in the hall with surprise, and they carried bewilderment in their hearts. During the sacred martial meet, youngest Uncle Master and the others went against the sacred mountain and risked their lives to escape. At that time, my strength was far from sufficient and was unable to help him at all. But since then, I've started to cultivate diligently for the sake of becoming strong one day and being able to do everything I want to do. So long as it's someone I care about, then I can't allow them to be bullied. Situ Muyang looked at Situ Luyun with a burning gaze as he spoke in a powerful and resonant voice. Hearing such words, many people present couldn't help but clench their fists and grit their teeth. Yes, he was forced by the sacred mountain, and this was the pain of everyone in the Shunjian Gate. If they were strong enough, they wouldn't fear the sacred mountain and would provide the strongest protection for Yi, and that young man wouldn't have to suffer so much. If the Shunjian Gate was strong enough and could resist all enemies and uphold the righteous path, then when Yi was ambushed and almost died, they could have directly killed Yin Lingfeng instead of just punishing him to face the wall for 3 years. As long as they had enough strength, they could easily do all of this, whether it was external or internal. But unfortunately, the Xinjiang Gate wasn't strong enough to do that. So, at that time, many people could only watch as Yi fought with the Sacred Mountain and watched as that young man took the initiative to withdraw from the Xinjiang Gate, and none of them could do anything. But today, in everyone's hearts, that young man was still a disciple of the Xinjiang Gate. Father, so I want to go to the Chaos region, and I want to fight side by side with Junior Marshal Uncle and the others. Situ Muyang's eyes flashed as he said each word sonorously. Everyone in the hall was infected by his state, and hot blood flowed continuously in their bodies. If they were a few decades younger, or even a few hundred years younger, they would be willing to be like Situ Muyang and be so excited. Muyang. Situ Liuyun's eyes flashed with gratification. Situ Muyang had been cultivating in seclusion for almost a year, and the results were remarkable. Moreover, Situ Luyun could clearly feel that his son had really grown up. Because of everything that Yi had suffered back then, it made him firm in his beliefs, and he was countless times more hard-working than before. At this moment, Situ Luyun suddenly felt a little sad, but this sadness only lasted for a moment. Good. You're indeed my son, Situ Luyun. You have courage and courage. I agree to this. Situ Luyun suddenly laughed out loud as he spoke. Thank you, father, for agreeing. Situ Muyang also laughed happily, but he suddenly changed the topic and said with a smile, But father, I'll leave it to you to talk to mother. I'll leave first. After saying that, Situ Muyang jumped up as if his butt had been cut by a knife, and then he ran out of the hall and quickly disappeared. Everyone was stunned by this scene. I have to take the blame for this again. Situ Luyun felt helpless in his heart. When he thought of Situ Muyang's mother and the people behind her, Situ Luyun felt extremely helpless. This time, he had promised his son to go to the Chaos region, and he would definitely have to take the blame for this again. Situ Luyun immediately became distressed, and he didn't know how to explain it to those people. Seeing him like this, the few elders who knew about the situation all revealed malicious smiles. Each and every one of them snickered slyly. The matter is finished. Disperse. Everyone disperse. Situ Luyun saw everything, and he immediately glanced at those people who were secretly laughing and shouted coldly. Chapter 1220. Situ Luyun's expression made the few people who knew about it laugh even more happily. However, the matter this time had already been discussed. The situation with Yi and Situ Muyang was just an interlude, so the elders of the various peaks all dispersed. When he walked out of the hall and flew into the air, Elder Su suddenly grinned and could not help but want to laugh when he saw that there was no one around. Everyone dispersed, but there was still one person walking at the back of the hall. It was Bai Mingshan of the 15th Sword Peak. Sui, Situ Muyang. Bai Mingshan could no longer control his expression, and a cold expression appeared on his face. He looked in the direction of the entrance of the hall and slowly clenched his fists. No one knew what he was thinking. A moment later, Bai Mingshan's figure flashed and quickly disappeared. In the middle of Xinjiang Gate, there was a desolate place where a towering cliff stood. It was like a natural barrier between heaven and earth, giving off a strange and majestic feeling. standing alone in front of this precipice, he looked no different from an ant. This precipice was covered with green moss, but there were no messy plants growing on it. It was a flat expanse, and it was extremely shocking to look at from afar. At this time, a handsome young man was sitting under the cliff. His eyes were closed as he sat cross-legged and cultivated. On the young man's knees was a long sword. A red light flowed on it, as if an evil dragon was swimming around, containing an evil aura. Swoosh! Suddenly, a figure landed in front of the young man from afar. It was Elder Bai Mingshan. "Master, you're here." The young man, sitting cross-legged on the ground, did not even lift his eyelids as he spoke indifferently. "Ling Feng, there are some things that I think I should tell you." Bai Mingshan's expression was still a little ugly, but in front of his disciple, he tried his best to restrain himself. "Speak." Yin Lingfeng's lips moved slightly, and he actually only said one word softly, without any respect for his teacher. Bai Mingshan did not care about this at all. He exhaled and said, "You've been facing the wall for almost a year, and I rarely tell you about the outside world. But today, I must tell you a few things." Yin Lingfeng didn't answer. His eyes were still closed, unmoved. Bai Mingshan glanced at his disciple and continued, "Today, Situ Muyang emerged from his closed-door cultivation. He has broken through to the origin void realm." Oh, hearing this, Yin Lingfeng finally opened his eyes in surprise. However, he didn't particularly care and said, "It's only the origin void stage. If I want to reach it, I can break through in a few days." "Really?" Bai Mingshan was stunned. This news was a pleasant surprise for him. Origin void stage and Yuan Jin stage were two completely different concepts. If one could break through to Yuan Jin stage earlier, one would have a certain advantage. If one didn't work hard to catch up with a small group of extremely talented people, then one step behind would lead to another step behind. Fortunately, Yin Lingfeng's words dispelled some of Bai Mingshan's doubts. You have the Crimson Dragon Divine Steps. Once you break into the Origin Void Realm, that Situ Muyang will definitely not be your match. Bai Mingshan said excitedly. "Oomph. It's just a tiny little Situ Muyang. He's not even worth a pound." Yin Lingfeng said. After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes again and didn't care at all. However, after Bai Mingshan's excitement, he pulled a long face and said, "Besides Situ Muyang, you probably want to know more about Su Yi." The corners of Yin Lingfeng's eyes twitched, but he didn't open his eyes in the end. However, it couldn't conceal the throbbing in his heart. He sat there quietly and waited for Bai Mingshan to continue speaking. Su Yi is in the Chaos region. It said that he has already stepped foot into the 6th level of the Origin Void stage. Bai Mingshan said, "What?" Yin Lingfeng could no longer maintain his composure. His eyes suddenly opened. 2 crimson rays of light shot out from his eyes like lightning and set off waves of wind and thunder. At the same time, a strand of absolutely evil devil energy surged. It was bloody, brutal, and murderous. Bai Mingshan accidentally met Yin Lingfeng's eyes, and he instantly shuddered unconsciously. With his cultivation, he actually felt astounded. Fortunately, this feeling didn't affect him at all, and it instantly dispersed. The light in Yin Lingfeng's eyes was restrained as well. That kid hasn't just attained the 6th level of the Origin Void stage. He even established a power called the Bawang Sect. This Bawang Sect can be said to be like the sun in the midday sky in the Chaos region. Many third-rate powers were annihilated by it, and there was even a second-rate power that vanished from the world because of the Bawang Sect. Moreover, 2 Origin Ancestor stage powerhouses from this second-rate power perished as well. Bai Mingshan continued. As he spoke, he couldn't help but feel shocked in his heart. After he finished listening, Yin Lingfeng was even more astounded. Even though the third-rate and second-rate powers in the Chaos region couldn't compare to the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea, it didn't mean that they were weak. How terrifying was the Bawang Sect to be able to annihilate numerous third-rate powers and eliminate a second-rate power in one go. It wasn't easy to determine anything else, but the death of 2 Origin Ancestor stage powerhouses was already sufficient to explain the problem. What is Su Yi? he actually came to such an extent. Yin Lingfeng's gaze shot out piercingly cold as he spoke with a grim voice. Only a short period of time had passed, yet he had actually attained the 6th level of the Origin Void stage. This was too terrifying. Besides that, he'd established a powerful Bawang sect, and this was even more terrifying. This meant that if he wanted to deal with Yi in the future, he had to take the sect behind him into consideration. If I knew this would happen, I should have been more straightforward and directly annihilated his body and soul. Yun Lingxin gritted his teeth as he spoke. At this moment, he felt slightly regretful. At that time, he'd never imagined that Yi would actually be able to come back from the dead. Otherwise, how could all of this have happened? At this moment, Yin Lingfeng felt intense hatred towards Yi. It was all because of Yi that he had to face the wall for 3 years. There are still 2 years of time left. You have a saint weapon in your possession, so you might not necessarily lose to Yi. You still have a great chance of winning. The nearby Bai Mingshan waved his fist and cheered for his disciple. However, the response he received was only Yin Lingfeng's 3 cold words. I know, you can leave. I'm going to close-door cultivation. Yin Lingfeng continued. Bai Mingshan thought for a moment and was originally about to say something, but he didn't speak in the end, and he turned around and flew away. After his figure vanished, Yin Lingfeng's eyes slowly opened, and crimson-red clouds flowed out from his eyes and densely spread out in the sky like mist. After a short moment, the crimson-red mist directly coiled around his body, and it looked like a mist of blood was coiling around him. At the same time, a bloody and fiendish aura was emitted, and Yin Lingfeng's eyes had completely turned crimson red. Kik. Chapter 12:21. With this laughter, the sword across Yin Lingfeng's knees began to tremble. At the same time, a massive amount of blood, red, demonic energy surged out. I have the divine red dragon movement. I have the demonic sword path. Yi, no matter how strong your cultivation is, you will still die in my hands. Yin Lingfeng opened his mouth and let out a strange laugh. 2 rays of light, red and black, rushed out from his body and fluctuated violently. In an instant, his aura began to rise rapidly and soon reached a peak. It's just the Origin Void stage. I can easily break through it, Yin Lingfeng said, and a murderous look appeared in his eyes. At the same time, it was filled with endless madness. The demonic sword path. The day I become a demon will be the day I devour the world. Those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will die. At that time, the entire Shunjian Gate will be mine. Kik. What happened in the Chaos region quickly spread throughout the 6 continents, 3 prefectures, and 1 ocean. As the strongest force in the central continent, the Sacred Mountain received the news at about the same time as the Shunjian Gate. The verdant mountain ranges overlapped one another like the waves of the ocean, surging and surging, majestic and magnificent. Mist rose from the ink-blue mountain peak, and the tip of the green mountain peak was like an ink landscape painting. On the mountain peak, a graceful figure in a fiery red robe stood. She was about 15 or 16 years old, and her skin was whiter than snow. She was incomparably beautiful and beautiful. That bastard! At this moment, the young girl was standing there, and her face was filled with shock. Behind her was an older girl, whose appearance was only slightly inferior to the former, and her face was also filled with shock. If Sui was here, he would definitely recognize these 2 beautiful girls. They were the sisters Lu Ruashi and Lu Yani, who were also from the barbarian city. The 2 of them were now cultivating in the Sacred Mountain, and Lu Ruashi was the Sacred Mountain saintess. I really didn't expect that guy to be able to reach this step after surviving the disaster. I can't believe this is real. Lu Yani swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said with difficulty, he must have eaten a lot along the way. Lu Ruashi frowned and said slowly, and you lied to me that you weren't worried about him. Seeing this, Lu Yani blinked her eyes and said. Lu Ruashi merely smiled and did not respond. However, The worry between her brows was difficult to dispel. Right? Suddenly, Lu Yani thought of something. Her red lips parted slightly as she said, "When I was on my way here, I saw Guardian Wang Chuanda. What's wrong with him?" Lu Ruashi raised her brows and asked. "He seems to have been called by the elders again," Lu Yani said. Lu Ruashi replied with an "oh," and did not say anything else. "You can go back first. There are some things that I need to discuss with Master and the others." Lu Ruashi spoke after a short moment. "All right." Lu Yani did not stay any longer and turned to leave. Lu Ruashi stayed in the same spot for a long time. Then, her body flitted away like a butterfly. She was graceful and beautiful, and soon disappeared among the mountain ranges. On this day, the entire sacred mountain was restless because of the incident in the Chaos region. Many higher-ups of the sacred mountain were alarmed again because the news was too shocking. However, no one knew what these higher-ups were thinking. Just like Lu Yani, many people saw Protector Wang Chuanda being called over by those true powerhouses. After a short while, he reappeared in front of everyone. However, just like last time, Guardian Wang Chuanda's face was swollen like a pig's head. There were bright red palm prints all over his face. His left leg was broken, and he was limping. He looked miserable in the mysterious space behind the Bawang Sect's mountain. Time passed quickly. It had been more than half a month since Su, Yi, and the others returned to the sect. In this half a month, the powerhouses of the Bawang sect had been cultivating and recuperating in the mysterious space. Huff, huff, huff. Waves after waves of huge energy fluctuations swept across the area. Some people even set off huge waves of energy that were as terrifying as a storm. Fortunately, the mysterious space was vast enough now. Therefore, everyone was far away from each other and did not disturb or affect each other. Among the crowd, Wuchang Fairy was the first to open her eyes. A cold aura flowed out of her body and froze the space around her. "I've almost recovered." The corners of her mouth curled up slightly as she sensed the state of her body, revealing a satisfied expression. "The spiritual liquid that kid gave me is really good stuff. It actually improved my cultivation." Wuchang Fairy's eyes sparkled as she murmured. She was originally at the peak of the 9th level Origin Emperor realm. After more than half a month of seclusion, she had improved again. In this way, she was only one step away from the real Origin Ancestor realm. However, Wuchang Fairy knew that this last step was not easy to break through. Not only did it require sufficient spiritual energy, but it also required the comprehension of some special things. Countless geniuses were stuck at this final step, unable to step into that brand new world for the rest of their lives. "I don't know how long I have to wait for this opportunity." Wuchang Fairy's beautiful eyes sparkled as she murmured softly. Her gaze moved and she sighed. However, a moment later, Impermanence Fairy's expression suddenly froze and she let out a cry of surprise. "Those Beast Emperors are about to break through?" She looked in the direction of the 3 Beast Emperors, the Mystic Turtle Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the Dragon Rhino Emperor. At this moment, the 3 Beast Emperors were completely wrapped in light. Their figures could not be seen clearly. Surging energy enveloped them as light bloomed and released a terrifying movement. Above their heads, endless wind and thunder gathered and fell from the mysterious space. It was as if 3 huge thunderbolts were connecting them to the sky of the space. Accompanied by the wind and thunder in the sky and the endless energy raging, the scene was terrifying. Wuchang Fairy knew that the Mystic Turtle Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the Dragon Rhino Emperor were about to break through. This surprised her. According to her understanding, the 3 Beast Emperors had just broken through not too long ago. Why were they breaking through now? Roar! An earth-shattering roar came from where the 3 Beast Emperors were. What followed was the appearance of 3 giant beasts. They circled above the Emperor of Purple Elephant and his companions and exuded a vast amount of royal energy. They were majestic and intimidating. Boom! At the same time, bolts of lightning struck down from the sky and struck the 3 beast shadows. Chapter 1222. In an instant, Impermanence Fairy could only see waves of mysterious energy flowing in the sky of this space. Finally, it was injected into the three Beast Emperors. The aura of the three of them became more and more intense, causing earth-shattering roars. Impermanence Fairy's eyes were burning. She also wanted to see how far the three Beast Emperors would break through this time. Suddenly, not only was there a huge commotion from the Purple Elephant Emperor and the other two, but also from the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and the Devouring Spirit Emperor. Huge waves of energy surged in all directions, attracting Impermanence Fairy's attention. For no reason, a terrifying dragon roar could be faintly heard. Golden light filled the sky and shot through the sky. The four Beast Emperors were also quickly enveloped by the endless light. There were invisible veins entangling them, connecting them to the mysterious space. All of this was just the beginning. After the Beast Emperors showed signs of breaking through one after another, huge commotion occurred in other parts of the mysterious space. First, it was Merciless West and Lei Yunhe. Vast soul power flowed around them. It was extremely terrifying and made one's heart palpitate. The aura of the Origin Emperor realm fluctuated, causing the two of them to have an aura that could suppress heaven and earth. Especially Merciless West. Her soul power was like flowing water, surging and setting off terrifying waves. Swoosh soon, another commotion came from another place. There, a small gray bird was slowly floating in the air, emitting a five-colored light. The five-colored light shone on the bird, making it look like a small five-colored sun that was slowly rising. And from the bird's body, an extremely powerful aura was emitted. It was as if a supreme being from ancient times had descended, suppressing everything. Handsome Su had been severely injured previously. Now, he finally caused a huge commotion, and a vast aura surged again. At the same time, strands of strange light appeared in the mysterious space. They carried a strange power and entered Handsome Su's body. Chi-Chi, not long after the commotion at Handsome Su's place, Su-Yi, who was quietly sitting cross-legged on the ground, also underwent a huge change. Wind and thunder rolled around the young man's body for no reason. The four elemental powers of earth, fire, water, and wind intertwined and entangled with each other. A huge light cocoon wrapped around him. Compared to the Beast Emperors, Merciless West, Lei Yunhe, and the others, the commotion around Su-Yi was not particularly huge. It could only be considered average. However, Impermanence Fairy raised her eyebrows when she saw this. She knew that Su-Yi was also about to break through. Rumble. In the mysterious space, muffled thunder rumbled and the void shook. In many places, everyone was showing signs of breaking through. This left everyone horrified. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng also came out of the medicine field and stood in the same place as Impermanence Fairy, watching the whole process in shock. Chi. For a moment, strange phenomena appeared in the mysterious space. Wind, thunder, and various elemental energies shot out in all directions, penetrating and invading each other. Thunder was roaring, the earth was roaring, the sky was trembling, space was shaking, astral winds were howling, and energy was howling. A major change was taking place in the mysterious space. However, the people in the outside world were completely unaware of what was happening here. Ji Tianfu, Lin Jinyang, Wang Zhengquan, Huang Jian, and many experts from Xinjian sect and Liu sect were all waiting outside the cave quietly. No one had left during this period. As for Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others from the Blue Cloud Hall, they had not come to this place for over 20 days. On this day, a martial artist from Green Cloud Hall came from the outside world and brought important news to Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others. What? A secret place has appeared? After hearing the report, Elder Xie and the other experts from Green Cloud Hall were all shocked. They looked at the middle-aged Origin Emperor who brought the news in disbelief. Elders, the secret place has appeared in the northwest of the Chaos Zone. Someone has really explored it before. However, this secret place has just appeared, and it seems to be in another space. It is somewhat difficult to grasp. Now, there are experts from the hall rushing over. The hall master sent me here to inform Elder Sia and the others. The middle-aged man looked at Elder Sia and the others from Green Cloud Hall and said softly, "Such a secret place suddenly appeared. I wonder where it came from." Elder Sia murmured as his eyes shone brightly. Every secret place buried a period of time or a prodigy who had disappeared. Inside, there would be unpredictable benefits that could make many martial artists go crazy. However, the benefits came at the same time. Ordinary secret places were also extremely dangerous. It was a kind of test for those who entered. Many experts from the hall have already gone ahead to investigate. In addition, Nine Star Valley and Blood Sun Sect have also received the news and sent people to investigate. As of now, there is no more specific information. We don't know what kind of place it is. Everything still needs to be verified. The Origin Emperor expert who came to deliver the news spoke again. Xia Wushu nodded and said, "A place that can form a secret place will not be simple. It definitely has the value of exploration." "Elder Xia, should we rush back now?" Just then, an Origin Emperor expert who had stayed in Bawang sect for more than 20 days asked. With such a big thing happening, Origin Emperors like them are still fine. However, Origin ancestors like Elder Xia might need to head to the secret place to investigate. "Old man, what do you think?" Xia Wushu did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked at Elder Tang Wang of Nine Star Valley. Because the secret place had appeared, the three first-rate forces knew about it. Hence, they did not deliberately avoid Tang Wang when discussing it. Every new secret place that appears is not that easy to investigate. It should take some time before it is truly opened. However, this is hard to say. If it goes well, it might really open in a few days. Elder Tang thought for a while and said as he paced around the hall, "Old man is right. However, Su, Yi, and the others have been in seclusion for so long. Not a single one of them has appeared. I don't know what the situation is like. If we leave now, I'm afraid it won't be good." Elder Xia nodded and said slowly, "Those people are seriously injured. If they want to recover, it will definitely take a long time," Elder Tang added. Beside him, an expert from Blue Cloud Hall laughed bitterly and said, "However, that kid is a little too much. He just left us here." Chapter 1223. To put it bluntly, Elder Xia, Elder Tang, and the others were aware that Su Yi was using them as shields. This was something that everyone had a tacit understanding of. One was willing to be beaten, and the other was willing to be beaten. There was nothing much to say. However, if they were to leave now, Elder Xia and the others would still be worried about the Bawang sect. After all, the power that could be mobilized in this mountain gate could not even be stopped by a normal second-rate force. Not to mention the Blood Sun sect. Even if the Tian Gang sect took the opportunity to come, they could easily flatten this place. Even if they were being used by Su Yi, they still did not want the Bawang sect to be flattened. The matter of the Mystery Land is definitely not limited to the three first-rate forces. The 7 second-rate forces, such as the Big Dipper sect, the Boundless Palace, and the Purple Shadow Tower, will definitely send people over and pay the greatest attention to that place. Elder Tang spoke again. Everyone beside him nodded upon hearing this. "So, old man, what you mean is that by Zun and the others will also pay attention to the Mystery Land and will not attack the Bawang sect at this time?" Elder Xia asked. Tang Wang rolled his eyes and glared at Xia Wushu. "That's not what I meant. Su Yi is still in seclusion. We should wait a little longer. Sanyan Hall and 9 Stars Valley can send the news here at the fastest speed. When we really have to leave, we will leave the Bawang sect. This is the only way." Elder Xia agreed and said, "Let's be good people to the end. After all, we were the ones who took this step willingly." There was a hint of helplessness in his words. He felt that they had been tricked by Su Yi. Before the many experts of the Bawang sect came out of seclusion, it was best for them to stay here and wait for news from the Mystery Land. After making this decision, the group did not think too much. However, Elder Xia and Elder Tang unconsciously ran to the back mountain of the Bawang sect and naturally found the cave that Ji Tianfu and the others were guarding. When they saw Elder Xie and the others appear here, they couldn't help but feel nervous. He's in seclusion, and he's covering it up quite well. Seeing Huang Jian, Wang Zhengquan, and the rest's expressions as if they were facing a great enemy, Xie Wuxiu could not help but curl his lips and say. Immediately after, they left the place. They felt that Su Yi was really a cautious guy. Phew, Huang Jian, Wang Zhengquan, and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Elder Xie and the others leave. After all, the other party was not a member of the Bawang sect and could not be trusted completely. If he asked to enter the cave to look for Su Yi, it would be troublesome. Given their group of origin emperors, it was simply impossible for them to stop those few origin ancestors. Unspecified currency P square root ER. It's been more than 20 days. Su Yi and the others should be coming out soon, right? Ji Tianfu muttered. When he thought about the uniqueness of the mysterious space, he felt that Su Yi, Merciless West, Little Handsome Su, and the others should have come out by now. Lin Jinyang also felt that it was about time. Although he did not know about the existence of the mysterious space, Su Yi had asked Ji Tianfu to bring him a bottle of spiritual liquid. The two of them sensed that the spiritual liquid was extremely terrifying and contained an unimaginable amount of energy. For Su Yi and the others who were seriously injured, if there was enough spiritual liquid, they would definitely recover in 20 days. However, they did not understand why none of them came out of seclusion. Furthermore, Ji Tianfu, Huang Jian, and Wang Zhengquan were guarding the entrance of the cave, not daring to relax at all and not allowing anyone to enter. The strangest thing was that there were no fluctuations coming from a cave. This was the strangest thing. They did not know if there was a secret room inside or if there was an independent space isolated by the mystic gate illusory spirit world. In fact, what Ji Tianfu, Huang Jian, Wang Zhengquan, Lin Jinyang, and the others did not know was that Su Yi, Merciless West, Little Handsome Su, and the Green Emperor were all in the midst of a breakthrough. Terrifying energy entwined and intertwined with each other, causing an earth-shattering commotion. Clusters of muffled thunder cruised in the sky as clouds and clouds filled the sky. The sky trembled, the earth trembled, and the storm swept out as power filled the air. Where the beast emperors were, terrifying beastly roars could be heard. This was especially true for the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming. Large amounts of golden light surged out of their bodies, forming the silhouette of a golden dragon in the void. The silhouette of a golden dragon coiled in the void with its head held high. The dragon roars pierced through the clouds and shattered stones, causing all things to tremble and thunder to roll in the sky. It's clearly the sounding snake's body, and there are 2 yin-yang hell flood dragons. Why are they releasing such terrifying dragon power? Impermanence Fairy was shocked to the extreme when she saw all of this. The pressure from the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming was so powerful that it was difficult for her to bear. This was not the pressure of an ordinary living being at all, but from the terrifying Golden Dragon clan. She could not understand why the Sounding Snake and the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons would have dragon power, as expected of the Golden Dragon blood essence. Each of them only got 1 drop, but they were able to obtain such great benefits. In the herb field, the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng was also watching this scene and softly muttered to himself. He naturally knew about the Golden Dragon blood essence and knew that the Green Emperor and the others had obtained unimaginable benefits from it. And even now, more and more of these benefits were still being dug out. What did you say? Impermanence Fairy could not help but ask curiously when she vaguely heard the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng's muttering. Nothing. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng was stunned and secretly thought that this woman's ears were very sensitive. The Golden Dragon blood essence was very important, and the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng did not dare to casually reveal it to others. This was the first time this woman had entered this space, and he did not know what relationship she had with Su Yi. Impermanence Fairy did not think much and looked at the powerful fluctuations in the distance. In addition to the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming, the Devouring Spirit Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhino Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor were also releasing a vast amount of ferocious aura that surged in all directions. Among all the Beast Emperors, the one whose aura was the most terrifying was Su Xiaobei. That little thing, is it really a phoenix? Impermanence Fairy's throat was dry, and she swallowed hard as she spoke in shock. She saw an enormous phantom of a five-colored divine bird sitting in the sky. It covered half of the sky, and the sky was filled with multicolored light. Coo! The divine bird's mouth occasionally let out a phoenix cry, and the five-colored light surged endlessly and surged into the sky. Below, Su Xiaobei's figure was completely enveloped by this phantom, and his aura was constantly rising. Under Impermanence Fairy's observation, the little figure's aura slowly increased from level 2 Demon Emperor realm to level 3 Demon Emperor realm, and not long after, to level 4 Demon Emperor realm. This kind of growth was extremely terrifying and completely different from a normal breakthrough. Chapter 1224. That old bastard and that Lei Yunhe have also experienced a great increase in strength this time around. Impermanence Fairy shifted her gaze and saw Merciless West and Lei Yunhe once again. The place where they stood was filled with the power of soul fluctuations. A soul whirlpool had appeared, as if it could devour all life in the world. This was the soul force of a soul controller. Especially for powerful soul controllers like Shi Wuqing and Lei Yunhe, it was incomparably powerful and terrifying. It was far, far more profound than an ordinary person's. At the same time, the Yuan Qi fluctuations on Merciless West and Lei Yunhe were also very powerful and extraordinary. Impermanence Fairy could clearly sense that Merciless West cultivation had risen from the 7th level of the Origin Emperor realm to the 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm. This made her eyelids twitch uncontrollably. Many years ago, Merciless West had always been weaker than Impermanence Fairy in terms of cultivation. Normally, there would be a difference of 3 or 4 levels. However, due to the fact that they were both soul controllers, their actual combat strength was about the same. Now, however, Impermanence Fairy was stuck at the peak of the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm, while Merciless West was advancing triumphantly. After breaking through the barrier of the 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm, he continued to advance, as if he wanted to break through the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm. As such, Impermanence Fairy, who originally had the advantage in cultivation, would probably not be able to gain any advantage over Merciless West. That old bastard, I don't know how he has been cultivating all these years to improve so quickly. Impermanence Fairy gritted her teeth, thinking that she had to figure out a way to suppress Merciless West. She did not know if that old bastard had been enlightened or what, but his cultivation was actually catching up to hers. What Impermanence Fairy did not know was that Merciless West cultivation had really increased rapidly in the past year or so, after he met Su Yi. That kid. Suddenly, Impermanence Fairy's gaze shifted, completely attracted to Su Yi's location. This was because she could sense that Su Yi's entire body was exuding a peculiar aura. As the young man's cultivation method revolved, it actually fluctuated with a tyrannical power. At the same time, Su Yi's spiritual force was as vast as the sea, fluctuating crazily. 6th level of the Origin Void Stage, 7th level of the Origin Void Stage, 8th level of the Origin Void Stage, 9th level of the Origin Void Stage. Under the watchful eyes of Immortal Wu Cheng, Su Yi's cultivation base continued to climb. Waves of Yuan Qi surged out like a flood, breaking through the barriers again and again. Along with the passage of time, one could clearly sense that the might on the young man had finally stopped at the 9th level of the Origin Void Stage before stabilizing. However, this was not the end. As another aura spread out, Su Yi's spiritual strength surged like a tide. The art of controlling heaven circulated in his body. The powerful spiritual strength was like a flood, setting off a terrifying spiritual storm. In the face of such spiritual strength, even an existence like Impermanence Fairy felt a little shocked. This was because she could faintly feel that Su Yi's spiritual strength seemed to be stronger than her spiritual strength. This was too terrifying. A young man at the Origin Void stage actually had spiritual strength that was more powerful than a martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the Origin Monarch stage like her. Even if an ordinary soul controller had stepped into the Origin Monarch stage, it would still be very difficult for them to achieve this. This kid has unlimited potential, Impermanence Fairy said. She only felt that once Su Yi truly matured, he would definitely have the rhythm of soaring into the sky. She stopped thinking about it and stared blankly at Su Yi's spiritual strength that was surging crazily like a tide. Huff, huff, huff. The entire mysterious space was filled with boundless energy. Everywhere, in every place, there were figures with extremely powerful and peerless auras. This was a huge commotion. Many people were breaking through and improving together. The ferocious auras were intertwined together, forming a vast fluctuation. Invisibly, in the mysterious space, there was also an exceptionally domineering power that was emitted, forming an invisible connection with everyone. In the center of this connection was Su Yi. All the Beast Emperors received unimaginable benefits. Merciless West, Lei Yunhe, and the others also received boundless energy that washed through their bodies and souls. Not only did the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect's attack not exterminate the Bawang sect, but also gave them such a huge opportunity to break through. I wonder what those people would think if they knew about this in the Netherworld. Impermanence Fairy suddenly smiled as she thought of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect that was almost extinct. It was precisely the fierce battle with the two Origin Ancestor Realm experts that caused the Bawang sect and so many people to experience an unprecedentedly difficult struggle. Everyone fought until they were exhausted, seriously injured, and on the verge of death. And it was also because of this that Impermanence Fairy, Merciless West, Lei Yunhe, and many Beast Emperors were all able to break through on a large scale. That battle was a crisis. But once the crisis was over, it was an opportunity for everyone to succeed. The Bawang sect was undergoing a transformation. All of them had broken through, and their overall combat strength would definitely be even more terrifying from now on. And that little girl, she seems to be pretty good too. Near the medicinal field, there was an inconspicuous place where an exquisite figure was sitting cross-legged. It was Ji Hanoi. Compared to the commotion caused by Su Yi, Merciless West, and many Beast Emperors, Ji Hanoi's side seemed ordinary. This was because she was still only at the Yuanjin realm, and she was still far from the Yuan Su realm. But at this time, Impermanence Fairy also noticed her. There was a mysterious power flowing around Ji Hanoi's body that made it impossible for people to see through it clearly. This mysterious power seemed to have some similarities with Su Yi's body, but there were also many differences, which made people very curious. However, as time passed, the mysterious power on Ji Hanoi's body continued to circulate, becoming stronger and stronger. It fluctuated at a level that ordinary Yuanjin realm experts could not reach. Impermanence Fairy even discovered that even an early-stage Origin Void realm martial artist would find it difficult to compare with this power. From the looks of it, the mysterious power on Ji Hanoi's body was definitely not simple. Unfortunately, Impermanence Fairy was unable to discern what kind of power it was. Chilala. The changes in the space continued. The bodies of all the Bawang sect experts were still changing, and their power continued to increase. All of this slowly evolved until everyone had been in seclusion for exactly a month. Then it began to slow down and stop. The first to awaken were the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor, followed by the Spirit Devouring Emperor. Chapter 1225. Almost at the 7th level of the Demon Emperor realm. You guys are doing well. After opening his eyes, the Spirit Devouring Emperor looked at the Purple Elephant Emperor and the other two. He raised his eyebrows and was surprised to find that the purple elephant emperor and the dragon rhino emperor had both reached the late 6th level of the demon emperor realm and were close to the peak. As for the black turtle emperor, he was definitely at the peak of the 6th level of the demon emperor realm. The three of them were not far from the 7th level of the demon emperor realm. They made great progress. After receiving the benefit from mysterious space more than 3 months ago, the purple elephant emperor and the dragon rhino emperor had just stepped into the 5th level of the demon emperor realm, while the black turtle emperor was at the late 5th level. This time, they had taken another huge step forward. It was extremely terrifying. However, when the purple elephant emperor, the dragon rhino emperor, and the black turtle emperor sensed the fluctuation on the spirit-devouring emperor, they could not help but widen their eyes at the same time. You 8th level of the demon emperor realm? The three beast emperors were dumbfounded. They originally thought that after this breakthrough, they would not dare to say that they could catch up with the green emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming, but they could at least catch up with the spirit-devouring emperor's cultivation. However, at this moment, the short elder opposite them had broken through to the early 8th level of the demon emperor realm. This was too frightening. After all, the green emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming were almost at this level of cultivation. I can only feel a sense of superiority from you guys. Compared to the three of them, I'll definitely be devastated. The spirit-devouring emperor laughed bitterly and unconsciously glanced in the direction of the green emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming. At this moment, the light fluctuation on the three of them gradually faded away. The illusory figures entrenched in the void also completely disappeared, revealing 3 human figures, 2 men and 1 woman. Chi-chi, when the 3 of them opened their eyes, 6 rays of golden light shot out from their pupils and pierced the void as if they were solid. Invisibly, the space seemed to be greatly affected and trembled. This is the spirit-devouring emperor, the purple elephant emperor, the dragon rhino emperor, and the black turtle emperor were all stunned. This power shocked them. Finally, I've reached LV9 of the demon royal realm. This feels really good. A soft smile appeared on Yin Ming's enchanting face as she spoke in a somewhat lazy manner. It does feel good. I've never felt so powerful before. Yang Ming also smiled as the corners of his mouth curled up as he spoke. This strength is nothing. My most pressing goal right now is to reach the demon ancestor realm. Hearing the words of Yin Ming and Yang Ming, the green emperor nodded and then suddenly said in a deep voice, after exchanging blows with the origin ancestor powerhouse, Luo Yunyang had already realized that a powerhouse at that level could control the power of space and crush a monarch powerhouse. This was something that everyone yearned for. Whether it was the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, or Yin Ming, they all wanted to reach this realm. The 9th LV of the Demon Emperor realm was definitely not their final destination. The Spirit-Devouring Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Mystic Turtle Emperor all smiled bitterly. It was not difficult for them to realize that the Green Emperor was already at the late stage of the LV9 Demon Royal realm. Yang Ming and Yin Ming had also reached the early stage of the LV9 Demon Royal realm and were close to the middle stage. In addition, Yang Ming and Yin Ming could combine to increase their strength exponentially. They did not know what kind of combat strength they could unleash if they combined at such a realm. This is too much of a blow. The Purple Elephant Emperor rubbed his forehead and said rather helplessly, because they were late to follow Su-E, the gap between the Beast Emperors couldn't be closed no matter how hard they tried. This was indeed something that made them feel melancholy. However, from their perspective, they had gained so many benefits in just a few months. This was something that they had not even dared to imagine in the past. Look, Lord Merciless West and the others have also awakened. Suddenly, the Green Emperor pointed in the direction of Merciless West. Not too far away was the Thundercloud Crane. The power around the two of them receded like flowing water and quickly dissipated. The vast soul fluctuations also slowly disappeared. Huff! Shiwuching opened his eyes. Two beams of fiery light shot out from his eyes and extended several meters. Thundercloud Crane's eyes were also suffused with lightning, which struck the void and caused a storm. Ninth level of the Origin Emperor realm. This time I have gained quite a lot. The corner of Shi Wuqing's mouth curled into a smile as he muttered to himself. I am also at the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm. In the distance, Thundercloud Crane was also smiling, but his smiling face looked a little scary. The aura of the two of them was released, and the aura of an emperor filled the air. Endless wind and thunder surrounded them, which was very terrifying. The Green Emperor and the rest of the Beast Emperors were surprised again. Merciless West and Thundercloud Crane had both broken through to the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm. It was not difficult for him to imagine that with the special means of Soul Controller, the two of them were probably much stronger than him in terms of actual combat strength. It was especially so for Merciless West. He was originally an extremely powerful Soul Controller, and his Heaven Grade Soul was much stronger than Thundercloud Crane when their cultivation levels were similar. When Merciless West was at the 7th level of the Origin Emperor realm, he could already fight with Hong Qianlong, who was half a step away from the Origin Ancestor realm. It was unknown if he could fight against a real Origin Ancestor realm existence now. Sizzle. At this moment, the surrounding space vibrated again. The sky in the mysterious space suddenly darkened, and the wind and clouds surged as lightning flashed. Not only that, but a powerful fiend god, Qi, suddenly rolled out and spread out in the void, releasing a domineering aura that fiercely pressed down on the souls of all those who had awakened. That is, Merciless West, Thundercloud Crane, the Green Emperor, and the rest all opened their eyes wide as they watched the scene unfold. It's Little Handsome. When he sensed the source of the energy, Merciless West was shocked. From the boundless divine demon aura, he could clearly sense an aura similar to Little Handsome Sue's. When Merciless West sensed this scene, the huge shadow of the phoenix above Little Handsome Sue suddenly descended and merged with his small body. A clear phoenix cry reverberated, and its majestic aura swept out in all directions. Everyone watched as Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings and soared into the sky. Boundless five-colored light enveloped him, making him look like a supreme being of the demon clan. He's at the 7th level of the Demon Emperor realm. This little guy's improvement is too terrifying. Shi Wuqing opened his mouth in a daze. He had long known that Little Handsome Su was extraordinary, but he was clearly only at the 2nd level of the Demon Emperor realm. How did he break through to the 6th level in such a short time? Chapter 1226. At this moment, Handsome Su was in midair, and a monstrous aura spread out from his body. This aura was not targeted at the Beast Emperors, but it made their bodies tremble, and they almost fell to the ground. Even the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming, who had the highest cultivation, felt their legs tremble and their hearts tremble. This was the power of a supreme being. As one of the most supreme demon tribes, Handsome Su's aura brought a strong sense of oppression to all the barbaric demonic beasts. Under everyone's gaze, Su Xiaoshui let out a crisp cry of a phoenix, which reverberated in the mysterious space. It resonated with some kind of invisible, mysterious power of space, and the entire space exuded a unique charm. Then, the 7-colored phoenix slowly descended, and the light gradually dimmed. It was no longer as dazzling as before. After a while, all the magnificence on Handsome Su's body disappeared, and he returned to his normal state. He looked very ordinary. Had they all broken through? Soon, Handsome Su noticed everyone's gaze, and he flew over and landed on Merciless West's shoulder. He also realized that everyone in the mysterious space had made a huge breakthrough. Moreover, Merciless West, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and Lei Yunhe were all at the 9th stage of the Martial Emperor realm, and they were even more powerful than him. In addition, Impermanence Fairy's cultivation had improved greatly, and she was even more powerful than before. Compared to you, little guy, our breakthroughs are really... Everyone smiled bitterly and looked at handsome Sue, speechless. This little guy's talent was too outstanding. If they were compared to him, they would not be able to live anymore. Boss is awake too. He also made a lot of breakthroughs. Looking at everyone's reaction, handsome Sue couldn't help but chuckle. Then he looked at Sue E. At this moment, the young man's body was full of energy and his power was rolling. He was as bright as a rainbow, and he was incomparably ferocious, as if he was about to explode. Endless energy was brewing, as if he was about to break through some kind of shackle. However, this kind of energy was firmly suppressed. As time passed, all the might on Su Yi's body also converged and disappeared, no longer existing. Everything receded like flowing water. Whether it was yuan qi fluctuations or soul strength, they all dissipated in the end. Swish, Su Yi opened his eyes and saw a large group of people staring at him as if he was a monkey. They were like the visitors to the zoo in his previous life. Why are you all looking at me like that? Su Yi rubbed his nose. He had a strange feeling in his heart. Kid, you're about to reach the Origin Emperor realm? Impermanence Fairy walked in front of Su Yi and looked him up and down. She clicked her tongue and praised. She was no longer shocked. What she had seen today had already made her numb. Moreover, Su Yi breaking through all the way to the 9th level of the Origin Void stage was something she'd witnessed with her own 2 eyes. However, Immortal Wu Chang instinctively wanted to confirm this with Su Yi, and Wu Qing and the other Beast Emperors all looked at Su Yi. I'm still a little bit away from the Origin Emperor realm. I'll probably need some more time before I can truly break through. Su Yi did not hide anything and said as such. His cultivation soared all the way from the 6th level of the Origin Void stage to the later stage of the 9th level of the Origin Void stage. This was a huge leap. In fact, Su Yi also had the opportunity to attempt to break through to the true Origin Emperor realm. However, he suppressed this trend in the end and stabilized his cultivation at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage. Good kid, you're not greedy and know how to restrain yourself. Very good. Merciless West looked at the young man in front of her and said with a smile. Everyone had seen Su Yi's previous performance. The hope of breaking through to the Origin Emperor realm was right in front of him, but Su Yi was able to resist this temptation. This was something very difficult to do. However, this would allow his foundation to be even more solid. Big brother, I know what I'm doing, Su Yi said with a smile. Soon after, he saw the situation of the people around him. He was stunned and did not move for a long time. He was extremely shocked. They've all improved so much. This, before going into closed-door cultivation, Su Yi did not dare to imagine that everyone had improved so much this time. Other than Impermanence Fairy, who was at the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm and could not break through on a large scale, the rest of them had all broken through 1 to 2 levels. As for Handsome Su, he had broken through 6 levels in one go, from the 2nd level of the Demon Emperor realm to the 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. This kind of leap was too frightening. It was much more exaggerated than Su Yi's breakthrough. After all, he was only at the Origin Void stage, while Handsome Su was at the Demon Emperor realm. I'm inferior to a bird. Su Yi smiled bitterly. Originally, he saw that the distance between him and this little fellow was getting closer and closer. Now it was still so huge. The difference was almost an entire realm. Of course, Su Yi knew that Handsome Su's breakthrough speed was related to his bloodline. In the battle with the Jade Tripod Alchemy clan this time, everyone consumed a lot of energy. In addition, there was a drastic change in your space. Everyone obtained benefits from here, so they were able to advance by leaps and bounds. Merciless West looked at Su Yi and said with a sigh. Su Yi nodded when he heard that. He knew that what his big brother said was very reasonable. Battle was an extremely good training. It could prove oneself. In a desperate situation, one could see many of his shortcomings. Moreover, the great consumption of strength was also a baptism of the body and soul. During this period of time, his big brother, Merciless West, had been controlling the Li Fire Mystic Yang realm in the mind to fight against the Third Elder, Lei Yunhe, and the others. Then, he rushed to the vicinity of the Jade Tripod Alchemy clan and set up another illusory soul world. A few days later, he rushed over from the mine and entered the mysterious space to refine a large number of soul-controlling killing talismans. During this period, he even swallowed the last Essence Soul Purple Fire Pill. In the end, the two Essence Grandmasters of the Jade Tripod Alchemy clan arrived. With his big brother as the leader, they took charge of the Li Fire Mystic Yang realm. It could be said that his big brother, Merciless West, had been overdrawing his soul power time and time again recently. After the Li Fire Mystic Yang realm was broken, it could be said that he had reached the point of exhaustion and no longer had any power to use. Under such circumstances, he entered the mysterious space and encountered Su-Yi devouring the power of the essence stones in the mine. The space changed drastically, and, at the same time, he obtained huge benefits. Therefore, it was not hard to imagine that Merciless West had broken through to the 9th level of the Essence Emperor realm. As for Handsome Su, it was even more so. His last attack had shot down Lu Yinghong, who was on the verge of death. It had also consumed a lot of his strength. As long as he did not die, Handsome Su would be able to awaken more bloodline talents and improve his cultivation greatly. The overall strength of our Bawang sect is getting stronger and stronger. Sweeping his gaze across the surrounding people, Su-Yi's heart was filled with unconcealable excitement. He unconsciously clenched his fists. His big brother, Merciless West, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yi Ming were the strongest combat strength of the Bawang sect. Chapter 12:27. In this way, the overall strength of the Bawang sect would definitely increase by leaps and bounds compared to before. If they used such a powerful lineup to face the two Origin Ancestor Realm experts of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, they would definitely not need to fight to such a tragic end. The Bawang sect is already starting to look like it. Merciless West also laughed, feeling extremely happy in her heart. The Bawang sect already had the embryonic form of a powerful force. Its powerful combat strength was not inferior to an ordinary second-rate force, and it was not too far away from a force like the Heavenly Dipper sect. In addition, Nangong Ningyue, Huang Jian, and the others had also recruited many ordinary disciples. It could be said that the Bawang sect was already starting to look like it. The Bawang sect will become more and more powerful. All of us will become the most powerful experts in this world. One day, the 10 great forces of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea will not be able to ignore us. Su-Yi's eyes flickered as he said in a deep voice. The Bawang sect was becoming more and more powerful, but this was not the end. It was just the beginning. They would continue to increase their strength and rise in the Chaos region. And Su-Yi would one day step onto the holy mountain and wipe out the humiliation of the past. Boss, we still have to find second brother and third brother. We brothers will go and settle the debt of the holy mountain together. Su Xiaoshui stood on Su-Yi's shoulder and whispered into his ear. Not just second brother and third brother, but also Su Tianke. Su-Yi's expression turned serious as he said word by word. We must break through the holy mountain's gate and settle the grudges of the past one by one. His eyes were filled with boundless light, and his entire body emitted an evil aura that fluctuated in the void. For a moment, everyone in the mysterious space was affected by this aura, and their hearts surged with boiling blood. Merciless West, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and the others all unconsciously stood around Su-Yi. Their eyes were all filled with ferocity. Everyone has been in seclusion for so long. It's time to go out. The people from the Blue Cloud Hall are still waiting outside. After a long while, Su-Yi's aura slowly dissipated as he spoke softly. Everyone nodded. They had been in seclusion for almost a month and had gained a lot this time. It was time to go out. Lady Han Nuo should be waking up soon, right? Su-Yi took one last look at Ji Han Nuo, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. The young girl's body was still wrapped in a water-attributed green light. Moreover, with Su Yi's strength, he was able to detect a unique and mysterious energy flowing within her body. This energy was extremely strange and unusual. Su Yi didn't know how long it would take for Ji Hanhua to wake up, but it shouldn't take more than a few days. The group walked out of the mysterious space. Not long after, they all gathered in the main hall of the Bawang sect. Xia Wuxiu and the others from the Blue Cloud Hall, as well as Elder Tang, had also received news that Su Yi and the others had come out of seclusion. In addition, Ji Tianfu, Lin Jinyang, Huang Jian, Wang Zhengquan, and the others had also entered the main hall. "Kid, you're finally willing to come out." After seeing Su Yi, Xia Wuxiu immediately spread his hands helplessly and said, they had waited for an entire month this time. This was something that they hadn't expected at the beginning. "Thank you, everyone. I'm very grateful." Su Yi bowed to the people from the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang as he spoke sincerely. At this moment, Su Yi could not help but feel a little touched. These people had really guarded the Overlord sect for a month. Among them, there were a total of 3 Yuan Zone realm experts guarding the pass for them. This was probably something that ordinary people would not be able to accomplish. It doesn't matter whether you're grateful or not. "Kid, why don't you join the Blue Cloud Hall? As long as you agree, the position of Young Master of the Blue Cloud Hall can be directly given to you." At this time, another origin ancestor from the Blue Cloud Hall, whose surname was Zhong, suddenly chuckled as he looked at Su Yi. Hearing this, Xia Wuxiu and Tang Wang immediately pricked up their ears, wanted to hear Su Yi's thoughts. The other people from the Blue Cloud Hall were all stunned on the spot. Ji Tianfu, Lin Jinyang, and the others were the same. The young master of the Blue Cloud Hall meant that he had the greatest possibility of succeeding the position of Hall Master in the future. This was the position of Hall Master of a first-rate force. Since they had even stated such a condition, it was obvious that the Blue Cloud Hall really wanted a rope in Su Yi and thought highly of him. Su Yi was also stunned for a moment. Obviously, he hadn't expected Elder Zhong to say such a thing. However, he still shook his head and said, "I appreciate the Blue Cloud Hall's good intentions. However, I've always been used to being free and undisciplined. I don't like to live a restrained life. In addition, the Bawang sect also needs my guidance. There's no way he can join the Blue Cloud Hall." As soon as he said this, the light in Elder Xie's bright eyes slowly dimmed. He had expected this outcome, but when he heard Su Yi say it, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It would be a great loss if they couldn't rope in such an outstanding genius to the Blue Cloud Hall. "Kid, you're not a fish in a pond. It's reasonable for you to want to walk your own path." Xia Wuxiu nodded, knowing that his attempt to rope and had been rejected. He then said, "This old man also wants to see how far you and your Bawang sect can go in the end." His gaze swept over Merciless West and the others, deep shock in his eyes. With his cultivation, it wasn't difficult for him to notice that Merciless West, Green Emperor, Su Xiaoshui, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and all the other members of the Bawang sect had greatly improved their cultivation after a month of seclusion. This kind of improvement was terrifying. If this news were to spread, it would definitely cause a commotion. Elder Xie didn't bat an eyelid. He suppressed the shock in his heart. The great change in the Bawang sect was bound to cause a change in the overall situation of the Chaos Realm. He just didn't know if it would affect the 3 first-rate forces in the future. "Elder Xie, Elder Tang, Elder Zhong, you've all stayed in the Bawang sect for so long. I didn't treat you well. I'm very sorry." Su Yi apologized again and said, "I won't say too many words of gratitude. However, I'll remember everything that happened recently. It doesn't matter whether you're grateful or not. What this old man said was right. You just have to repay us in the future." Tang Wang stared at Su Yi and suddenly said softly, looking extremely serious. Su Yi once again felt helpless and didn't know how to respond. He only felt that Elder Tang, Elder Xie, and the other old fellows weren't as old-fashioned as they seemed on the surface. They actually knew how to mock him. "Ha! Old man, don't make fun of this little guy." Elder Xie laughed heartily as he looked at Su-yi. After all, they were experts of the older generation who had lived for many years. They couldn't really expect Su-yi to repay them. Chapter 1228. However, since Su-yi had already rejected the offer, Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the rest could not force him to do anything. Honestly speaking, their actions were just icing on the cake. At the critical juncture of the Overlord sect, they had only contributed a little bit of strength and did not make any big moves. Since all of you have come out of your seclusion, I will not stay in the Bawang sect any longer. It is time to return to the Nine-Star Valley. Tang Wang withdrew his mocking expression and spoke once again. That's right. A month has passed, and it is time for us to return to the Blue Cloud Hall. Elder Xie added. Upon hearing this, Su-yi could not help but frown slightly. He looked at Elder Tang and asked, Elder Tang, will there be any trouble with you taking action? He still remembered that during the battle a month ago, the Nine-Star Valley had sent 2 other Yuan Zong experts to capture him. They had said that they had received orders from the Valley Master. It was Elder Tang who had stepped forward to protect him that the 2 men had let him go. However, Elder Tang had promised that he would shoulder all the responsibility. A month had passed, and Elder Tang was still quietly waiting in the Bawang sect. Suemo wondered if the Nine-Star Valley's Valley Master would be unhappy. You don't have to worry about this. I still have some say in the Nine-Star Valley. Tang Wang stared at Su-yi and softly said. He felt a little comforted. This kid was not a heartless person, and he still knew how to worry about him. That's for the best. Su-yi nodded. He was not clear about the situation in the Nine-Star Valley. However, since Elder Tang had said so, he must have a certain level of confidence. However, Su-yi still remembered this matter in his heart. He was absolutely grateful to Elder Tang, but he did not have a good impression of the Nine-Star Valley. In the future, it would be fine if the Nine-Star Valley did not provoke him. On account of Elder Tang, Su-yi would not take the initiative to become enemies with them. However, if they became enemies, Su-yi would definitely not show mercy. Brat, you just came out of seclusion. Let me tell you another piece of news. Suddenly, Elder Xie stroked his beard, looked at Su-yi and said, Recently, a new secret territory has appeared. Its location is uncertain. First, it appeared in the northwest of the Chaos Realm. Then, it moved to the north. It is very likely to be an extraordinary secret territory. Once it appears, it will definitely cause a great disturbance. Our 3 first-rate forces have already sent people to investigate, hoping to find the traces and solve the mystery. Since you've come out of seclusion this time, this old man also needs to leave immediately and rush over to investigate the situation. Don't worry, the Blood Sun sect's attention should be focused on the secret realm right now. They won't have the time to deal with the Bawang sect. Secret realm. Su-yi, Merciless West, Handsome Su, and the others were all shocked. Their hearts throbbed, and they didn't hear Elder Xie's last words at all. This was a new mystic realm. This was no ordinary place. For example, Su-yi had entered the battlefield of 10,000 swords of the Xinjiang Gate, the sacred martial secret realm in the Middle Province, and the secret realm of ominous spirits in the Chaos Realm. These were all secret territories that had been excavated in the early years. No one knew how many times they had been explored, but they were still able to obtain a lot of benefits from them. Now, according to Elder Xie, there was a new secret territory that had appeared. If it was true, there would definitely be countless treasures and opportunities in it. How could they not be shocked? There must be a lot of treasures in there, and countless spiritual herbs. Handsome Su's eyes sparkled as he spoke. As he spoke, his saliva dripped down. You only know how to eat. Su-yi flicked his finger on Handsome Su's head and said with a roll of his eyes. However, Su-yi's eyes were also shining. He really wanted to know more about the secret territory. For such benefits, the Bawang sect definitely couldn't fall behind others. If there was a chance, they would definitely go and explore it. Little guy, it's better for the Bawang sect to stay put for now. When he saw Su-yi and the rest's expressions, Elder Xie continued. Currently, the 3 great first-rate factions have all moved out to explore the area. The remaining second-rate factions have also sent people to investigate the situation. However, they have yet to find a way to break the seal. Everything still needs time. For the Bawang sect, it's better not to get involved in this mess. Once you appear, the Blood Sun sect and the Tiangang sect will definitely take the opportunity to deal with you. Suitmi nodded. Elder Xie's words were true. Several hostile forces had now sent a large number of experts. Once the Bawang sect went there, it was very likely that they would be attacked. We definitely can't hide. The Blood Sun sect will have to face them sooner or later. After a moment, Su Yi said softly, but Elder Xie is right. At this time, the Bawang sect doesn't need to get involved. It won't be too late to talk about it after the secret territory has truly appeared. Elder Xie nodded and said with a smile, the Bawang sect can wait for now. Perhaps after the secret territory has been broken, this old man should be able to fight for one or two places for the Bawang sect to enter with the people of my Ash Cloud Hall. The experts of the Ash Cloud Hall all fell into silence. This Elder Xie really valued Su Yi. He actually made such a promise. Of course, all of this was based on the premise that the secret territory had truly been broken. Thank you, Elder Xie. Su Yi cupped his fists and said firmly, however, the Bawang sect won't wait forever. I will fight for a place to enter the secret territory myself. As he spoke, his entire body was filled with a domineering aura, causing Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others to be a little stunned. Ha, good. Elder Xie laughed loudly again and said, then we won't stay any longer. This old man will wait for you outside the secret territory. After saying that, he didn't waste any more words and directly led the people of the Ash Cloud Hall out of the hall. Let's go. Elder Tang also waved his hand and quickly rushed into the void. After a moment, he disappeared. Seeing these people leave so decisively, Su Yi stood outside the hall and looked at the sky. His mind was in turmoil. This time, another secret territory had appeared. This was an accident, and Su Yi was very interested. However, he was also very clear about one thing. The 3 great first-rate forces of the Chaos Realm and the remaining 6 great second-rate forces would definitely treat such an existence as their own private property. Now, that a total of 9 great forces had joined forces, they probably had enough strength to firmly control a secret territory. In that case, they definitely wouldn't easily let outsiders enter. However, Su Yi also understood that a huge piece of fat meat would be wanted by everyone. Therefore, the 9 great forces were also facing unimaginable pressure. This would be the Bawang sect's opportunity. If possible, of course, the more people who enter the secret territory, the better. Chapter 1229. Kid, do you have any plans? Merciless West walked to Su Yi's side and asked him. This matter hasn't come to a conclusion yet, so there's no rush. However, a mystic realm has appeared. If our Bawang sect has the chance, we still need to explore it, Su Yi said. That's for sure. However, we do have to be wary of the Blood Sun sect. That Baizun isn't a good person. He will definitely not give up on his evil intentions. Merciless West thought for a moment and said, there's no need to worry about that. Baizun's real target is me alone. If I go to the Mystic Realm, the Blood Sun sect won't target the Bawang sect. At that time, we'll see if they have the ability to deal with me, Su Yi said in a deep voice. This Blood Sun sect must know how powerful I am in the future. Beside him, Su Xiaoshui took over the conversation and said with a deep gaze, if it weren't for the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang, we would be in big trouble this time. The Blood Sun sect will definitely pay the price for this in the future. Green Emperor's eyes shot out a cold light as he said in a gloomy voice. In addition, Merciless West, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and the spirit-devouring Emperor also had cold expressions. Everyone's bodies were bursting with killing intent. Before the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect really arrived, everyone in the Bawang sect could expect that this would be a difficult battle. However, no one had expected that it would completely alarm the 3 first-rate forces. In addition, Second-rate forces, such as the Xianin sect and the Tiangang sect, had also rushed over. Most importantly, after Su Xiaoshui and Su Yi completely killed Lu Yinghong and Luo Cheng, the two origin grandmasters, Baizun wanted to attack Su Yi and bring him to the Blood Sun sect. If it weren't for the several experts of the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang speaking up for Su Yi, it would have been easy for the Blood Sun sect to take Su Yi away with their strength. In addition, there were also two experts from the Nine Stars Valley hiding in the dark. If Elder Tang hadn't discovered it in time, Su Yi would definitely have been captured. Therefore, at this moment, everyone was hostile to the Blood Sun sect. Sooner or later, they would have to pay for this joke. Moreover, everyone didn't have a good impression of the Nine Stars Valley. Of course, Elder Tang. Everyone, recuperate and conserve your energy for the next few days. That mystic realm might open at any time. We must be prepared. Su Yi looked at the crowd and said. After that, everyone dispersed from the hall and went to do their own things. Second brother, third brother, where are you guys now? And when he was alone, Su Yi couldn't help but think of those closest to him. Second brother Su Chun and third brother Yen Lin had been separated for nearly a year. He didn't know where they were now. There was also Su Tianke. After the battle in the savage demon forest, there was still no news of the bald turkey. This was what Su Yi was most worried about. In addition, old master Su Yuntian and the rest of the Su family had been taken away by the Yuqin Palace. He didn't know how they were doing. If there was time, Su Yi felt that it was necessary to make a trip to the Yuqian Palace to see the situation. Su Yi thought of the Kanglan city in the savage demon forest. The people from the Tian Yao school were still there, living under the protection of Akatsuki. In addition, he didn't know how strong the Hell Rat, Golden Python, White Jade Mystic Bird, Fiery-Eyed Barbaric Tiger, and other savage beasts were now. The agreement between Su Yi and Akatsuki was 5 years. There were still more than 3 years left. However, the Bawang sect wasn't strong enough yet, so it wasn't time to bring Ouyang Shiwei and the others over. Tian Yao School was different from the Bawang sect. Once such news was leaked out, the 10 great forces of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea would be alarmed at the same time. The several sects that had attacked back then would definitely come together. This matter was of great importance. Su Yi had to deal with it carefully. Everything would have to wait until the Bawang sect was truly powerful in the future. The Jade Tripod Alchemy sect is almost destroyed. I wonder how their territory is doing. A second-rate force must have unimaginable benefits. Su Yi suddenly thought of this matter and couldn't help but find Nangong Ningyue to ask about the situation. Sect Master, I've sent people to investigate this matter. The remaining few origin emperors of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect fled, taking away most of their foundation. For the time being, we don't know where they are. As for the remaining benefits, they were divided up by the various major forces. Many of the territories and cities fell into the hands of the second-rate forces like the Darkeen sect and the Crimson Sun sect, Nangong Ningyue said. They were all divided up by others. What a pity! Su Yi couldn't help but smack his lips and feel that it was a pity. If the foundation of a second-rate force could fall into the hands of the Bawang sect, it would definitely be a huge fortune. Unfortunately, everyone in the Bawang sect was seriously injured at that time and didn't have the ability to take such benefits. They could only watch helplessly as these benefits fell into the hands of others. We didn't get the benefits of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. However, there were barbaric beasts that searched the Green Sanctuary sect and brought back some things. Nangong Ningyue took out a space bag and handed it to Su Yi. After destroying the Green Sanctuary sect, Su Yi and the others immediately returned to the mine and didn't plunder it. However, the large number of barbaric beasts that came later didn't let go of the benefits there. They searched the entire Green Sanctuary sect inside and out. Later on, Su Yi was busy, so these treasures were handed over to Nangong Ningyue for safekeeping. The foundation of a third-rate force isn't bad. Su Yi opened the space bag and saw a lot of prenatal stones and spiritual herbs, but their grades weren't high. Other than that, there were some spirit weapons, including 2 decent Dao artifacts, a saber and a sword. I'll give these 2 magic weapons to Elder Huang and Elder Wang. I'll leave the rest of the weapons to you for safekeeping. You can distribute them freely to increase the combat strength of the disciples of the Bawang sect. In addition, all the prenatal stones will be handed over to Elder Wang. If anyone needs to use them, they can withdraw them from him. Su Yi took out a saber and a sword, then threw the space bag to Nangong Ningyue and said, "Yes, sect master." Nangong Ningyue said respectfully and bowed. She was pleasantly surprised. One had to know that the things in the space bag were equivalent to half of the foundation of the Green Sanctuary sect. It was equivalent to the entire wealth of a weak, third-rate force. With so many things being controlled by her, it could be seen that Su Yi trusted her a lot. At this moment, Nangong Ningyue couldn't help but rejoice. After being saved by Su Yi, she didn't hesitate to choose to believe in this young man and join the Bawang sect that she had never heard of. Now that she thought about it, such a decision couldn't be more correct. The development speed of the Bawang sect far exceeded Nangong Ningyue's expectations. 3 days later, gather all the powerhouses of the Bawang sect above the Origin Void stage in the main hall. I have something important to announce. Chapter 1230. Nangong Ningyu's expression turned serious when she heard this. When she saw Su Yi's serious appearance, she knew that the announcement this time was definitely not small. "Yes, sect leader," she immediately responded. Su Yi didn't say anything else and waved his hand to let Nangong Ningyu leave the main hall. There were many things in the Bawang sect that needed to be perfected step by step. Su Yi already had some plans in his heart, but he still needed to slowly implement them. Strength. In this world, strength is everything. Su Yi suddenly felt an enormous pressure on his shoulders. The rise of the Bawang sect caused his confidence to multiply, but at the same time, it also caused him to feel that he was shouldering a great responsibility. In addition, Su Yi felt that his strength was still very insignificant, even though he wasn't even 18 years old. But he was imperceptibly enduring pressure that countless people of the same age couldn't endure. The enemies he had to face were all extremely powerful, and he had to quickly grow in order to be able to contend with his opponents. Origin Monarch Stage. The true breakthrough shouldn't be too far away. Su Yi's eyes suddenly sank as he muttered to himself. In the mysterious space, he completely broke through to the 9th level of the Origin Void stage and forcefully suppressed the strength of his breakthrough. Otherwise, he could indeed attempt to charge into the Origin Monarch stage. However, Su Yi knew that it wouldn't be beneficial to him, so he stopped in time. There are still over a dozen Origin Yang Heavenly Bones left. I wonder what kind of changes it will bring after it's completely refined. Su Yi muttered to himself. He had already refined the Origin Yang Heavenly Bone to the 5th level of the Chaotic Origin Demon Body to the final stage. Along with the transformation of every bone in his body, he faintly felt that a huge transformation was about to occur in his body. However, he was unable to truly determine what kind of transformation it would be. Su Yi was looking forward to it very much. Perhaps the day the Origin Yang Heavenly Bone was refined would also be the opportunity to break through to the Origin Monarch stage. Time can't be wasted. It's better to go cultivate. Su Yi didn't stay in the main hall for long. Instead, he went to the back of the mountain and called for a few barbaric beasts to protect him. He entered the cave, opened up the mysterious space, and began to cultivate. Jihanua hadn't woken up yet. Her body was still emitting a mysterious aura. Su Yi felt that this aura was very familiar. It carried a unique aura of the demon race and was very powerful. However, he could only wait for Jihanua to wake up to find out what it was. My cultivation has just broken through not too long ago. It's time for me to practice my martial arts. Su Yi softly murmured in the space. He went to a very deep location in order to avoid disturbing Jihanua. Presently, he'd just broken through to the 9th level of the Origin Void stage, and it would be extremely difficult for him to have much progress even if he worked hard on his origin energy. Now was the most suitable time for him to cultivate martial skills. Wrath of the 8 Desolates. 9 absolutes shake the universe. Su Yi's eyes flashed, and an overbearing aura erupted from his body. Subsequently, his body directly soared into the sky and flew high up into the sky. A footprint was fiercely kicked out by him, and it emitted a terrifying rumble in the sky. It was like a mountain smashing into a lake, and the sound waves surged into the sky. However, at the instant this footprint appeared, another even more vast footprint exploded with light and smashed into the void. It was as if it kicked some sort of invisible vein in space, and it caused a terrifying tremor. Instantly, the 2 footprints overlapped together, and it surged out with an even more terrifying momentum. But all of this was just the beginning. Numerous footprints stomped down in succession, and the momentum became more and more vast. When the 6th footprint descended, it was already several tens of times stronger than the first footprint. It was as if it could split the heavens and earth apart, and it was extremely shocking. When these 6 footprints all condensed together, it caused the heavens and earth to tremble and the sky to explode. Bang, bang, bang. The 7th, 8th, and 9th footprints followed closely behind, and their might increased even more. However, when the 7th footprint started, the energy in front had already started to dissipate, and the last 3 footprints weren't able to overlap with the previous 6 footprints. There's still a lot to go. Again, Su Yi muttered to himself lightly. He knew that this was because his cultivation wasn't up to par. In fact, the cultivation method of the 3rd move of Rage of the 8 Desolation stated that the true might of this move normally required one to attain the Origin Monarch stage before being able to exert it. It was practically extremely difficult to cultivate it successfully at the Origin Void stage. Even if Su Yi's chaotic Origin Demon body was cultivated to the 5th level, it was still extremely difficult to accomplish. The facts were indeed so. Su Yi felt that even though his cultivation had broken through to the 9th level of the Origin Void stage now, he still felt extremely strenuous when continuously executing it. Each of the 9 footprints was stronger than the previous, and their might increased explosively by multiple times. However, it was extremely difficult to stack them together, and the final objective of this move was to cause the 9 footprints to overlap, thus instantly erupting with a might that was a few hundred times stronger than the first. Su Yi was able to imagine that if this move was truly cultivated to completion, its might would absolutely be shocking. Bang, bang, bang. His mind was clear of distracting thoughts as he stomped out footprints after footprints in the sky, and the fatal and mysterious space emitted waves of tremors with an extremely vast impetus. Time slowly passed by, and unknowingly, a day had passed. During this day, Su Yi practically didn't rest, and he'd always been immersed in the cultivation of the 3rd move of Rage of the 8 Desolation. During this period of time, he didn't know how many times he'd kicked out, and every single kick was with his full strength. Huff, huff. Su Yi's forehead was covered in sweat as he bent down and gasped heavily for breath. The sweat on his face rolled down and dripped onto the ground before smashing into powder. The clothes on his body were completely soaked from the inside out. I can kick out 7 times at the same time now, but the last 2 kicks are still lacking. Su Yi lightly muttered to himself as he recalled the process of his cultivation. At the same time, he referred to the cultivation method in his mind to verify with each other, as he wanted to see where he'd done it imperfectly. He was extremely clear that the trick of this 9 Extinction Universe Shaker was that the 9 footprints were kicked out at practically the same time, and only then could the might be stacked and erupt with a might that was a few hundred times stronger. If not, kicking out 1 foot at a time would still be very powerful, but ultimately it was still too weak. After a day of nonstop cultivation, Su Yi became more and more proficient in it. From the beginning, he could kick out 6 times at once, and now he could kick out 7 times, stacking the power. This was a huge improvement. However, he wouldn't be satisfied with this. Even though the record stated that the 9 extinction universe shaker needed to reach the origin emperor realm to be able to successfully cultivate it, Sui felt that he should have the opportunity to master this move in the origin void realm. Rest for a while, then continue. Sui sat cross-legged on the ground and began to meditate. His great void divine sea had endless vital chi, but he couldn't help but cultivate martial arts from morning till night. Moreover, it was the 9 extinction universe shaker that consumed a lot of vital chi. Therefore, at this moment, Sui also felt extremely tired and needed to rest for a while to recover. Clatter. Chapter 12:31. After a period of recuperation, Suyi's primordial chi gradually recovered. The spiritual energy in the mysterious space was as dense as a fog, so the recovery speed was naturally very fast. Sui was not in a hurry to refine the yuan-yang heavenly bone. Instead, he opened his eyes and continued to cultivate the 9 extinction heaven shaking 9 extinction. The vast momentum was fluctuating, and bursts of energy were like stormy waves. In the distance, the blood jasper spirit ginseng came out from the herb field and looked at the young man's movements in shock. This kid is really diligent. A human face appeared on the blood jasper spirit ginseng, and its expression was very vivid. The commotion caused by the young man was not loud, but they could clearly feel the powerful aura contained within it. The blood jasper spirit ginseng seemed to be able to understand why Sui could reach such a terrifying level at such a young age. All of this was inseparable from his hard work. Of course, opportunities were also very important. The existence of the mysterious space was a kind of opportunity bestowed by the heavens. Including Sui himself, he still did not know the specific origin of the mysterious space. It's really hard to imagine what kind of level this guy can reach in the future. The blood jasper spirit ginseng muttered to itself, moved by Sui. The young man's talent was extraordinary, and coupled with such hard work, his future achievements were immeasurable. In fact, this was also a good fortune for the blood jasper spirit ginseng. Since meeting this young man, it had also obtained great benefits. In the past, it was difficult for the blood jasper spirit ginseng to pass the initial tribulation, but now it quickly reached the intermediate stage of the demon illusionary stage, and the demon emperor stage was also within reach. Is this little girl going to wake up? At this moment, not far away from the blood jasper spirit ginseng, a wave of fluctuation attracted his attention. Turning his head, he saw Ji Hanoi, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, began to emit a bright green light. The water attribute energy surged like waves, causing bursts of whistling sounds. This light circled around her body, gradually condensing, and then transformed into a huge dragon, occupying the sky above her head. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the sky, breaking the sound barrier and penetrating the soul, causing the blood jasper spirit ginseng to be in a trance. Its body could not help but sway, and only by circulating the chi in its body did it resist. The blood jade spirit ginseng couldn't help but open its mouth wide when it saw the dragon image above the young girl's head. It said in shock, "Hornless dragon. This is a hornless dragon." The dragon's shadow was huge, its body no less than 400 feet long. When it moved, it was like a small mountain ridge. On the other hand, the dragon's shadow had no horns on its head and was shaped like a hornless dragon. Roar! The dragon opened its mouth and let out another roar that shook the sky. Wind and thunder raged in the mysterious space. For no reason, an invisible force surged in the sky and poured into the body of the hornless dragon, causing its body to expand and grow longer. 40 zhang, 50 zhang, 600 feet, 70 zhang, 800 feet. A moment later, the entire body of the hornless dragon grew to 100 feet in size. Its scales were dense, and its muscles were knotted together. It seemed to contain an unlimited amount of energy. Following the expansion of the dragon's body, The aura of the young girl below also skyrocketed, rising steadily. 6th level of Yuan Zhen stage. 7th level Yuan Zhen stage. 8th level Yuan Zhen stage. 9th level Yuan Zhen stage. In a short while, Ji Hanua's aura had skyrocketed to the 9th level of Yuan Zhen stage, and it was still growing. Is she going to wake up? With a flash, Su Yi quickly arrived and landed near the blood jasper spirit ginseng. He was startled by the commotion and looked at Ji Hanua's situation in shock. In Su Yi's eyes, he could see something that the blood jasper spirit ginseng could not detect. Unknowingly, there was a surge of energy in the mysterious space that kept entering the dragon shadow and then transferred to Ji Hanua's body. This surge of energy carried an extremely ancient aura. It was deep and vast, as if it came from the ancient times and contained some kind of power of inheritance. This little girl is also incredible. This time, she has profited from a disaster. I'm afraid she's going to soar into the sky. The blood jasper spirit ginseng's eyes were as wide as copper bells, and its expression was extremely exaggerated. Ji Hanua was heavily injured and on the verge of death. She barely survived by relying on its life essence, but she never woke up. Who would have thought that today's change would bring her such a huge benefit? What's with the energy in her body? This is not a cultivation technique that Xinjian's sect should have. Su Yi mumbled to himself as he looked at the long dragon that was dancing in the air in disbelief. It was obvious that the huge body of the hornless dragon was extremely terrifying. This was not a power that an ordinary cultivation technique could have. With the strength of Xinjian's sect, it was not possible for them to have such a cultivation technique. Su Yi felt that this cultivation technique was not any weaker than the cultivation techniques of the first-rate forces. It might even be comparable to the inheritance of the one mountain, two religions, three sects, and four factions. This is definitely not an ordinary cultivation technique. This cultivation technique must be related to the hornless dragon. Its grade is definitely terrifying. The blood jasper spirit ginseng was shocked as it stared at Ji Hanua. Su Yi could not take his eyes off her as well. He was extremely shocked. Of course, he knew about the hornless dragon. It was a powerful demon clan that existed in the ancient times, and it was closely related to the dragon tribe. Perhaps it was not as powerful as the golden dragon tribe. However, it was undeniable that it was one of the most powerful races in the world. It was also part of the dragon tribe. However, just like the dragons, phoenixes, and other powerful creatures, the hornless dragon had disappeared from the world. Now, there was no trace of it. He did not expect Ji Hanua to have obtained such a powerful cultivation technique. Could it be this cultivation technique came from Tian Yao school? Suddenly, Su Yi remembered something. When he was in the secret realm of ominous spirits, he and Ji Hanua were trapped in the Tian Yao school's 10,000 demons refining array. It was there that he met the previous faction leader of Tian Yao school, the demon emperor Lai Tian. That was another inheritance of the Sky Demon sect. It was something his master, Sky Splitter, had set up to prevent the Sky Demon sect's inheritance from being severed. Su Yi had obtained the 10,000 demons refining array from it. Under his master's guidance, he had obtained the demon god battle suit. After coming out of the 10,000 demons refining array, Ji Hanua had said that she had also obtained some benefits. It was a sword art, but it was not as simple as a sword art. However, the two of them did not think much of it at that time. A powerful sword art was indeed extraordinary. However, no matter how powerful the martial arts technique was, it still required a sufficient cultivation level to be used. However, now that Su Yi thought about it, perhaps Ji Hanua's cultivation technique related to the hornless dragon came from that sword art. Is this the inheritance of the hornless dragon? It seems that there is a huge resonance in this mysterious space. Su Yi raised his eyes and looked at the sky of the mysterious space. The ancient and powerful power was still pervading, but it was invisible. The blood jasper spirit ginseng could not see it. Chapter 1232. This kind of transformation was extremely powerful. For no reason, Ji Hanua's aura soared. After stepping into the 9th level of Yuan Zhen's stage, all of this continued. As time passed, the dragon's body became more and more ferocious. It was as if it was a real object. Its divine might was awe-inspiring. Roar! In the end, the horned dragon let out another roar and rushed into Ji Hanua's body, disappearing without a trace. Chi-chi! Ji Hanua suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were like lightning, and there were 2 dragon shadows swimming in her eyes. A sharp and absolute aura danced around her body, transforming into sword auras that shot out endlessly. Huff! As she exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, everything disappeared. Ji Hanua returned to her usual expression, and the sword auras that filled the sky also disappeared. Miss Hanua, you're awake. Su-yi could not help but be pleasantly surprised when he saw this, and immediately went to Ji Hanua's side. Su-yi. Seeing Su-yi for the first time, Ji Hanua was overjoyed, and a happy smile appeared on her face. The girl quickly bounced up from the ground. Her figure was graceful as she pounced to Su-yi's side. Her eyes were red as she unconsciously brewed a crystalline light. Su-yi. Suddenly, Ji Hanua hugged Su-yi without any explanation. Her arms tightly wrapped around the youth's waist, as if she was afraid that if she let go, she would never see the person in front of her again. Su-yi was startled and was at a loss for what to do. It was a pity that, as a virgin for 2 lifetimes, he had never encountered such a situation before. For a moment, he didn't know how to deal with it. This caused a strange, dry smile to appear on his face. However, Ji Hanua seemed to be unaware of this as she hugged him tightly and refused to let go. It's all right, it's all in the past. After a long while, Su-yi finally regained his senses and gently hugged the girl's exquisite body. His palm gently patted her back as he said softly, I thought I wouldn't be able to see you again. Sob, sob. Ji Hanua was sobbing faintly. Her tears flowed down her cheeks and soaked Su-yi's robes. The young girl's sobbing was like a bolt of lightning, striking Su-yi in an instant. It seemed to have plucked at some of his heartstrings, causing Su-yi to freeze on the spot. At this moment, he could feel the girl's surprise, but at the same time, he could feel the fear hidden in her heart. Su-yi knew very well that the woman in his arms must have gone through a lot when she was kidnapped by the Green Sanctuary sect. When the people from the Bawang sect arrived, they were powerless in Jiang Zikin's hands like birds with broken wings. If it wasn't for the blood jade spirit ginseng, the 2 of them might not even be able to see each other for the last time. What Su-yi didn't know was that at the very last moment, Ji Hanua had been thinking about her father and Su. It's all in the past. I won't let you get hurt in the future. Unknowingly, Su-yi's arms gradually exerted strength as he hugged the girl tightly. He spoke softly, but for some reason, there was a sense of dominance. At this moment, Su-yi had an unprecedented feeling in his heart. He wanted to protect the woman in his arms and prevent her from being harmed by anyone. When he first received the news that Ji Hanua was kidnapped by the Green Sanctuary sect, his feelings were somewhat similar to this. In his arms, Ji Hanua nodded vigorously as the tip of her nose twitched. Is this how you humans feel? It's so strange. Why do I feel like I'm blushing when I'm just watching? It's even hot. At this moment, the blood jade spirit ginseng's words were heard, sounding very confused. When Ji Hanua heard this, she couldn't help but slowly release her hands and leave Su-yi's arms. After secretly glancing at the young man in front of her, her cheeks really did turn red, and she couldn't help but lower her head. Su-yi's face darkened, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He glared at the blood jade spirit ginseng and said, Grandpa Ginseng, are you a plant? Where did your face come from? The blood jade spirit ginseng was still in the origin void stage and had only passed the cardinal tribulation. It hadn't cultivated a human form yet, but he said that its face was red, and it was F***king hot. Hee. Ji Hanua giggled, covered her mouth, and secretly looked at the blood jade spirit ginseng. Unexpectedly, the huge ginseng was looking at her with a mischievous smile. This scene made Jihanua lower her head again. This time, it's all thanks to Grandpa Ginseng. He saved you. Suyi's expression became serious again as he spoke to Jihanua. I know it was Grandpa Ginseng who saved me. During this period of time, I could occasionally feel someone taking care of me, and I could also feel Grandpa Ginseng's aura. Jihanua put away her shyness and bowed to the blood jade spirit Ginseng. She said gently, "Thank you, Grandpa Ginseng, for saving me. I can't thank you enough." "Little girl, you're not bad." The blood jade spirit Ginseng nodded in satisfaction and said, "But you don't have to thank me. This brat begged me to save you. For this, he looks like he's willing to pay any price." As it spoke, the blood jade spirit Ginseng looked at Su-yi with a playful expression, as if it was saying this intentionally. However, Su-yi became anxious when he heard this, and hurriedly said, "Grandpa Ginseng, don't go back on your word. You said it yourself. This time, you've obtained great benefits, and you don't need to honor the things you promised before." He had promised to give the blood jade spirit Ginseng a large amount of spiritual liquid. However, after absorbing the energy of the origin stones in the mine, the mysterious space underwent a great change, and Grandpa Ginseng obtained a great improvement. Later, he told Su-yi that he didn't need the benefits of the spiritual liquid. "You brat." The blood jade spirit Ginseng rolled its eyes and said, I said I don't need it, so of course I don't need it. What are you so anxious for?" That's good." Su-yi immediately started chuckling. The blood jade spirit Ginseng blew its beard and glared. "Miss Hanua, tell me about that hornless dragon cultivation method of yours. What's going on?" Su-yi recalled the scene he saw previously, and could not help asking very curiously. Jihanua did not conceal anything either, and told Su-yi the whole story about the hornless dragon sword art. It turned out that it was really as Su-yi guessed. Everything was a lucky chance that Jihanua obtained in a myriad demon divine refining formation back then. At the beginning, Jihanua cultivated according to the cultivation method in her mind and obtained a sword art. It was very extraordinary, but that was it. However, later in the Green Sanctuary sect, when facing Jiangsu's improper behavior, the hornless dragon sword art suddenly erupted with terrifying power invisibly, and a kind of mystic art was activated. That swift and fierce sword chi penetrated the heavens and the earth, transforming into the body of an immeasurable hornless dragon. As if it could kill millions of things, it instantly killed Jiangsu without leaving a trace. After that, Jihanua relied on this power to successively kill several early-stage origin void-stage powerhouses. It was only when Jiang Zikin made a move that she was suppressed. So it contains a kind of mystic art. In that case, this really is a blessing in disguise this time. Su-yi muttered, feeling shocked. Chapter 1233. Furthermore, the hornless dragon sword art was no longer as simple as a sword art and a secret technique. It had also induced a cultivation technique, which greatly benefited Jihanua. Under normal circumstances, a cultivator had to be cautious when cultivating a cultivation technique. Once they had chosen a cultivation technique, they had to be extremely careful when changing it. Otherwise, it would be easy for them to go berserk or even die. However, the cultivation technique induced by the hornless dragon sword art did not have such concerns. It allowed Jihanua to cultivate it directly and take the first step. The space here seems very different. When I was cultivating the hornless dragon's inheritance, I could feel a huge force entering my body through this space. The original hornless dragon's inheritance seemed to be lacking, but under the effect of the power of this space, it was directly repaired and became complete. At this time, Jihanua began to look around and said in surprise. Until now, she still did not know what this place was that it had such a huge effect. This space belongs to me, but I don't know its exact origin. However, since the inheritance you obtained is related to the hornless dragon, you will naturally obtain some opportunities here. Su-yi laughed. The reason why he called this place the mysterious space was because he did not know its origin. However, he knew one thing. Every time a barbaric demon beast entered this place, it would obtain a huge benefit and inheritance, which was enough to allow the barbaric demon beast to be reborn. From the earliest golden python and white jade mystic bird to Su Tianke, little handsome Su, the green emperor, the purple elephant emperor, and the others, all of them had undergone earth-shattering changes. However, when humans entered this space, they would not be able to obtain such benefits. Of course, with a rich spiritual energy and a certain rhythm unique to this space, Merciless West, Huang Jian, Lei Yunhe, and the others had also rapidly improved. Jihan Nuo had stimulated the hornless dragon's inheritance. As a powerful demon beast, the mysterious space was probably extremely beneficial to the hornless dragon. This might be the reason why the mysterious space could complete Jihan Nuo's cultivation technique. Ancient hornless dragon. Little girl, you're going to soar into the sky in the future. The blood jasper ginseng looked at Jihan Nuo and said in a daze. Jihan Nuo smiled and did not say anything. Quite a lot of spiritual liquid has seeped out again. Sui cast his gaze towards the small pool of spirit liquid and found that a small portion of the spirit liquid had seeped out, which made him very happy. Just a few days ago, he had collected all of the spirit liquid. Who would have thought that so much would appear in just a few days? It seemed that the power of the primordial stones that he had devoured this time was absolutely vigorous. This could be seen from the density of the spiritual energy in the space. Let's go out first. I will send you back to Xinjian sect another day. Your father has been worried about you. He turned to look at Jihan Nuo and said, the people from Xinjian sect and Liuhe sect had left Bawang sect not long after they came out of seclusion. After all, the two sects still had a few cities to manage. They cannot be away for too long. Yes, the girl gently nodded and hummed in agreement. He was not in a hurry to take away the spiritual liquid. In any case, it would not be able to run away if he left it here. He brought Jihan Nuo out of the mysterious space and into the cave. It smells so good. When the light of the mysterious space dissipated, He raised his hand and sniffed it before blurting out, "What are you talking about?" "What?" Jihan Nuo was puzzled. He was stunned. "Bad guy." Seeing Su Yi's infatuated look with his hand raised, Jihan Nuo suddenly thought of something. The fragrance on this guy's hand was obviously from her body. Cough, cough. How am I bad? He coughed dryly and tried his best to cover it up. However, in his heart, he could not help but recall the scene of the two of them hugging each other. Soon, he thought of the charming scene that had happened in the demon refining array. Even his fingers could not help but move, as if he was recalling the wonderful touch of that time. "You are the worst." Jihan Nuo blushed, but was no longer as shy as before. Instead, she lifted her chin and looked straight at Su-yi with a brave look. Cough, cough. "Little girl, you have become bolder." Su-yi coughed dryly again and said helplessly. Suddenly, Jihan Nuo tiptoed slightly and took advantage of the moment when Su-yi was not paying attention to get in front of him. Her red lips were like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, touching the young man's cheek and then parting. In the next moment, the young girl seemed to have been caught doing something bad and ran out of the cave without looking back. Her figure was agile like a butterfly. He was a little dazed for a moment as he watched the young girl twist her slender waist and gracefully disappear from his sight. Is this the feeling of being in love? It seems pretty good. Feeling the moisture on his cheek after being kissed, the virgin of 2 lifetimes swallowed a mouthful of saliva and let out a chuckle. Soon after, he also walked out of the cave. He found Nangong Mingyue and let her lead Jihan Nuo to walk around the Bawang sect and visit everything here. As for himself, he returned to the back of the mountain and continued to cultivate 9 absolutes, shaking the universe. But this time, Su-yi did not enter the mysterious space again. He spent more than a day cultivating before. In another day or so, he needed to gather everyone in the Bawang sect for a meeting. Su-yi did not dare to delay important matters. While cultivating, time passed very quickly. Unknowingly, the day of the meeting had arrived. Su Yi's cultivation progress was not fast. The third move of 8 Desolation Wrath was very difficult to cultivate. It was estimated that it could not be achieved in a few days. Sect Master, everyone has been notified. Among the newly recruited powerhouses of the Bawang sect, a total of 7 Origin Void Realm powerhouses have already gathered in the main hall. In addition, over at the Heavenly Demon Temple, many Beast Emperors and Demon Void Realm powerhouses have also gathered. Nangong Ningyue came to the back of the mountain and reported to Su Yi. Got it. You go and wait first. I'll be there soon. Su Yi said and stopped cultivating his martial technique. After adjusting his breathing for a while, he rushed towards the main hall of the Bawang sect. A moment later, the youth sat at the head of the main hall. On both sides of his seat, there were 2 large chairs with backs. On the left sat Merciless West, and on the right was empty. Su Yi looked around. Huang Jian and Wang Zhengquan were both sitting on the chairs below. Other than these people, there were a total of 7 figures standing in the main hall with their heads lowered. There were many chairs left, but no one dared to sit down. These 7 people were the Origin Void Realm powerhouses who had just joined the Bawang sect. However, most of them were at the early stage of the Origin Void Realm. 3 or 4 of them came after hearing the news after the destruction of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. With the consent of Huang Jian and the others, they were accepted into the sect. Outside the main hall, there were also a large number of Demon Void Realm barbaric beasts waiting. These barbaric beasts could not transform into human forms. Their bodies were too huge, and they could not enter the main hall. There was no way to squeeze in here. You guys can sit down, too. Chapter 1234. Looking at Su Yi's arrangement, the main hall was quiet and no one spoke. Merciless West also didn't say a word, quietly waiting for Su Yi to speak, and didn't urge him. Inadvertently, he glanced at the big chair on the right side of Su Yi and knew that it was prepared for Impermanence Fairy, Yu Qiuhan. However, Yu Qiuhan didn't come to the main hall this time. Su Yi certainly knew this and couldn't help but secretly nod his head at Nangong Ningyue's attentiveness. Whether Impermanence Fairy came or not was one thing. Whether they were prepared or not was another. Everyone is here, but the few experts who have just joined the Bawang sect. Let's introduce ourselves first. Su Yi looked at the dozens of figures in the main hall and said in a clear voice. This was now the strongest force in the Bawang sect. There were nearly 20 experts above the Emperor's stage. In addition to the large number of savage beasts outside the main hall, there were also many Origin Void Realm and Monster Void Realm experts. Subordinate Shi Xinghua greets, Sect Master. When Su Yi's voice fell, a man in his 40s stepped forward and saluted to Su Yi. Subordinate Fan Yuan greets, Sect Master. Another middle-aged man stepped forward and saluted respectfully. Subordinate LV Hongchong greets, Sect Master. Subordinate Xiao Han greets, Sect Master. Subordinate Changyi greets, Sect Master. Subordinate Yin Shihan greets, Sect Master. Subordinate Duan Feiguang greets, Sect Master. 7 Origin Void Realm experts all stepped forward and saluted Su Yi. Everyone was respectful and didn't dare to have the slightest pretense. Su Yi nodded lightly as he listened to everyone report their names. He memorized all of their names, except for Shi Xinghua and Fan Yuan. The rest were LV Hongchong, Xiao Han, and Changyi. They were all around 40 years old, which was considered very young in the Origin Void Realm. As for Yin Shihan and Duan Feiguang, they looked to be in their 30s, but their cultivation was at the Origin Void stage. In the end, even if these 2 people were placed in first or second-rate forces, they would probably become outstanding disciples in their sects when they were younger. Of course, there was still a huge gap between them and the most outstanding people. Secretly, Su Yi felt that these people could be nurtured as they might have a chance to break through to the Origin Emperor realm in a short period of time. After all, talent was something innate. All right, from now on, we're all on the same side. We're all members of the Bawang sect. Su Yi nodded, and then a bright light flashed in his eyes. He swept his gaze across the hall and said, since everyone is here, I won't beat around the bush. What I'm going to announce today is related to the future development of the Bawang sect. It's the beginning of the right path for the Bawang sect. Hearing his words, everyone pricked up their ears and perked up their spirits, including Merciless West, Green Emperor, and the others. Their eyes fell on Su Yi. Even Su Yi, who was on Su Yi's shoulder, had a serious look on his face. He felt that what Su Yi was going to say next was definitely very important. The 7 new Yuan Void stage martial artists below were even more respectful as they stood there. They knew clearly in their hearts that even though the young man sitting at the head of the table was extremely young, his cultivation was far above the 7 of them. From today onwards, the Bawang sect will be divided into inner and outer sects, as well as 6 halls and 1 palace. Like other sects, we'll have our own rules and systems. Su Yi's loud voice resounded inside and outside the hall. Everyone heard it. The 6 halls are Shadow Hall, Martial Hall, Torture Hall, Metal Hall, Soul Hall, and Outer Hall. One of the palaces has already been decided. It's called the Heavenly Demon Temple. Su Yi said again. Everyone listened attentively. Su Yi had already decided on the Heavenly Demon Temple. He had also appointed the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Black Tortoise Emperor as the 3 great guardians of the Heavenly Demon Temple. Shadow Hall will be in charge of collecting information about the Tian Yao School. We'll start with the Zone of Chaos and set up our own informers there. In the future, we'll go to the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. Every major event that happens in any place can be reported to the sect in a timely manner. Su Yi's eyes shone brightly as he spoke. Information was an indispensable part of the sect. The Shadow Hall would be like the eyes of the Bawang sect. It could see every corner of the Zone of Chaos. Su Yi had his own plans. The Shadow Hall's role was not only in battles. He also wanted to find many people, such as Su Tianke, Su Chun, Yin Lin, and the others. He also wanted to find his parents, who were starting to fade in his memory. The Martial Hall will mainly nurture the elite disciples of the Bawang sect. All the inner sect disciples will be managed by the Martial Hall. The Martial Hall's role is to be the backbone of the Bawang sect. It will continuously send the outstanding talents of the sect and arrange training and other matters. Su Yi said again. Merciless West, who was beside him, nodded slightly. He knew the importance of the Martial Hall that Su Yi had mentioned. This was no longer an ordinary sex arrangement. It was a model that only first-rate and second-rate forces had. There would be inter-sect disciples, and, of course, there would also be personal disciples. All the personal disciples would be successors to the higher-ups of the Bawang sect. On the $W section of the new chapter, most of the personal disciples would be born from the inter-sect disciples of the Martial Hall. The Torture Hall is in charge of punishment. If any disciple betrays or fights among themselves, they will be punished by the Torture Hall. In addition, captured enemies of the Bawang sect will also be detained and interrogated by the Torture Hall. The Torture Hall is the foundation of the Bawang sect's continuous expansion. Only when all laws are strictly enforced and everything is done in an orderly manner can the Bawang sect truly expand in a stable manner. Otherwise, there will be no need for external enemies to invade us. We will be the first to fall into chaos. At this point, Su Yi's entire being emitted a fierce and absolute aura. It was like an unsheathed sharp sword, causing many people in the hall to feel a chill all over their bodies. The Bawang sect would continue to expand. In Su Yi's plan, there would be more than a few thousand people in the future. One had to know that his goal was the Sacred Mountain. Without tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of disciples, how could they stand shoulder to shoulder with the Sacred Mountain? By that time, when a number of people increased, there would inevitably be cases of treason and internal strife. Those big forces would very likely send spies into the Bawang sect. The Torture Hall needed to be impartial and strict at this time. They could not act based on emotion. Everything had to be carried out strictly according to the rules of the sect. When it came to disciples who caused trouble, whether they were beaten, expelled, or killed, there had to be evidence to support them. Only by being impartial could the torture hall demonstrate its power. For some reason, when the torture hall was mentioned, the new experts in the hall unconsciously tensed up. And all of this was seen by Sui. He understood that these people did not have any intention of betraying the Overlord's sect, nor did they want to cause trouble for the Overlord's sect. It was just that they were all rogue cultivators in the past and were used to being free and unrestrained. Now that they had become members of the Bawang sect, they instinctively felt a little unaccustomed to the strict rules and regulations that suddenly restricted them. Sui understood this very well. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.